Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Festivus, Happy Winter Solstice, Happy. You can tell I've been having a cup of cheer myself. It is time. All right, stop, Santa. There we go. It is time for an annual tradition, our MacBreak Weekly Best Of from 2022. Actually, we don't do that one every year, but this is the first time we've done that. But we have been doing, I don't know, maybe 10 years we've been doing Best Ofs. We gave the team a little time off. We put together some of the funnest, bestest stories from the year gone by. Thank you for joining me. It's great to have you, and stay tuned. Coming up, MacBreak Weekly Best Of.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is MacBreak Weekly number 850 for Tuesday, December 27th, 2022. The year's best. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Melissa. Over 10,000 clients worldwide in industries like retail, education, healthcare, insurance, finance, and government rely on Melissa for full spectrum data quality and ID verification software. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today. 1,000 records clean for free at melissa.com/twit. Listeners of this program get an ad-free version if they're members of Club TWiT. $7 a month gives you ad-free versions of all of our shows, plus membership in the Club TWiT Discord, a great clubhouse for TWiT listeners. And finally, the TWiT Plus feed with shows like Stacy's Book Club, The Untitled Linux Show, The Giz Fizz, and more. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit, and thanks for your support. Hello, everybody! Ho, ho, ho! It's time for our annual Best Of show. Micah Sargent, with the help of all of you, our viewers, and some strange people we've never met before, has come up with a list of some of the best segments from 2022. So we're all off, just relaxing in our post-Christmas haze, our stupor. We didn't want to leave you high and dry, so we've prepared a wonderful melange of events. Now, this is going to be basically in chronological order, and I guess nothing happened in January and February. We're going to jump right to March, but that was a very big day, March 8th. Apple announced some very interesting products. I can't believe it was this year that the Mac Studio came out. Watch. I think, so far so good. $429, iPhone SE, Friday Night Baseball. Then they get to the iPadAir. These are things we expected. It's got 5G in it. It's got an M1 processor in it. Now, that's interesting. Not an A15, but an M1. Yeah. Now, it's the same, and Rene would tell you it's the same. But what I thought was intriguing, and I'm curious what you think, is this is really starting to verge on the iPad Pro. Same design.
Yeah.
Same processor, 8-core M1. It's got USB-C. They have a smart keyboard for it. Starts at $599, so it's a great price. How do we make the distinction? Or maybe we're going to see a Pro leap forward? What's going to happen here? I don't know why you'd buy the Pro now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at the specs just to make sure that I'm clear on things. The biggest difference is that you don't get Thunderbolt on the Air. That Thunderbolt is now only on the iPad Pro, and it's a very, very tight comparison between the 10.9-inch Pro and the 11-inch Air, because even if external displays are still not a problem, because you can still connect DisplayPort through USB-C on the iPad Air, you lose higher capacity storage, you lose one camera, I think. But in terms of someone who wants a mid-range iPad laptop that doesn't necessarily want a 12.9-inch display, it really is the difference between how do you define yourself as a pro, and if you can dissuade yourself of needing Thunderbolt or 512 gigs of storage. It seems as though you want to save that money and get the Magic Keyboard instead.
It's a similar display, but not exactly the same as on the Pro. It's P3 True Tone, a little bit less bright.
Right, but it's not like micro LED. Excuse me.
But it's not mini LED.
It's not as though the Pro is a mini LED, so you're not getting The other reason for going for the 12.9 when I bought mine was that I want that better display.
Right.
So there's still you're not necessarily kicking yourself that hard for getting a Pro 12.9 if you wanted the M1 chip.
It does have the front-facing 12 megapixel camera. Now everything has that that centering, center stage, center stage where it moves around with you. Even the new monitor has that, which is I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, I mean you're going to have to really look if you want to get an iPad Pro at why you're spending the extra money, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's a huge cost difference between 500 nits and I think it's 1600 nits on the other display. So they are definitely saving some money there as far as that goes. But I think that it's a very usable Mac. I mean, if I was a school, again, March tends to be a kind of a nod towards last purchases that schools might do. It's not a bad iPad to use. Yeah. If you're thinking about iPads, if you're thinking that direction.
Actually, honestly, this could even be a college. I put laptop in quotes, but this is a very capable
very
system.
Solid.
Yeah. And then M1's fast.
Yeah, they were explicit saying faster than the fastest competitive Windows tablet, up to 2 times faster than the fastest Windows laptop in its price range. So yeah, that's where they're going for. It
also is a flex on Apple Silicon now, M1 everywhere, right? And so this is what's really going to be interesting is just consistent improvement in processors.
Well, consistent and very leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds.
With everything, they're starting to really flex. And again, we saw this when the M1 came out. Like when they announced that they were going to have a new chip. A lot of us were like, we should buy a bunch of Intel machines right before they screw this up for the next year or two. And the first M1 came out, and nobody I know, like everyone's like, no more Intel. Like, we're not going to buy any more of this because you could just see what was going to happen. It was like when the M1 came out, I was like, if that's version 1, this is going to get really interesting. And then as we keep on seeing the level of performance change between updates, and it's only been a year and a half, right, since the first time we saw an M1. It's going to be a really hard pace to keep up with because it's all integrated, because they're not working with outside, folks. They don't have to figure out how to get this chip to talk to that chip. They don't have to deal with buses. They can design whatever they want. Really changes the playing field a lot.
It's just damn exciting. That's all I can say. We haven't even gotten to the display yet. We'll get to the display in a second, but I do want to talk about GPUs because they spend a lot of time talking about how great these GPUs are compared even to the Radeons that they put in the top of the line Mac Pros. Notice there was no NVIDIA mention at all.
Yep.
And Alex, you're I always go to you to ask you about this because you're the pro user, you're the high-end user, you understand what pros want. And of course, you had 150 people in office hours watching this together. What was the reaction? What is the feeling about the GPUs?
People are pretty excited, to say the least. I think that not everything is the GPU. A lot of it is the processing, the number of processors and how they handle it and whether they can do it in parallel and so on and so forth. But on the other side of that, RAM is a big deal. And here's why RAM is a big deal, is because it means you can hold larger texture maps and you can hold larger models in the RAM while you're processing. So by having more memory available to the GPU, it means that you have much larger texture maps. That means that everything looks higher resolution than it did before. So it may not be able to process as fast sometimes. So that might handle effects and so on and so forth. But the amount of raw amount of resources. So I can have 4K texture maps instead of 2K texture maps, or 8K texture maps instead of 4K. Those kinds of things. I can start throwing much larger imagery and much larger models. It also means I can do things like oversampling. So oversampling is, I know you need a 4K image, but I'm going to render a 16K image, and then I'm going to bring it back down to 4. And what that does is it handles all the little aliasing, all the little jagged edges along the edge of the model. And so those are the kind of things that you can do when you have a lot of RAM.
128 gigs on the Ultra.
Boom.
No, I don't think that. I mean, that's only the very highest end GPUs would have anything near that kind of.
I've never seen a GPU with that much RAM.
Okay.
I think it's 48. I think 48 is the most I've ever seen.
Right.
But it's different. Again, this is a different architecture because you now have rarely do both the GPU and the CPU need all that RAM at one time. It's oftentimes left kind of latent. So being able to share the shared memory architecture is incredibly important in this process.
800 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth. Is that a good number?
It's fast. I don't know. I don't have a reference point for that. It's really fast. I don't know what my current one is. I don't know what those ones are. That's not a number I know.
Yeah. 60 up to 64 core GPU.
That's a lot.
But no, they're not CUDA cores. You don't get hardware ray tracing. There are people who need that kind of stuff, right? And you don't get Unreal Engine.
Not too many. Like the ray tracing thing is cool, but it's not like, I did anyway. I did a big shiny ship. I did a big shiny ship for a space film without ray tracing. So I kind of look at it like,
but that was a long time ago.
It looks great, but what's more interesting is when they start saying we can handle global illumination or physically based rendering in real time or something like that. Now you have my attention. Ray tracing is hard, and I'm glad that they're able to do it. But it's the global illumination stuff that is going to require a lot of RAM,
right?
To figure out.
Right.
So.
And you can do ray tracing in software. And in fact, somebody's saying, Dwindle's saying his Blender's cycle render does a pretty good job on the M1 Max, but it's still faster on my 2080 Ti, maybe. But now let's see what the Ultra.
And it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm less worried about real time and more because you can get. There's not many games or even anything real time that really takes advantage of most of this hardware. What I'm really interested in is to see how does Cinema 4D, do this? How does motion handle this? How does those types of things, handle the processors that are there?
Yeah. And it's sad to say, but it's the case that Mac is not a gaming platform, and
I mean, it's a nice footnote to talk about, but the thing is, anybody who wants casual gamers have their needs well covered by other Apple products. People who are very, very serious gamers who are going to bemoan the fact that 60 hertz that's a terrible limit. They're not going to be interested in Macs to begin with for reasons that go beyond having an M1 Ultra processor in there. So I don't think that's a big deal. I think that what they're I'm just saying. I think that the needs for the studio were that really huge, rich vein of customers between entry-level basic productivity Macs and super, super graphic chunking, number chunking Mac Pros. We're talking about like the people who are creating videos on YouTube, who have their own studio, producing digital videos, who need that kind of power, but don't necessarily need to spend need the kind of power they need to spend $6,000 for it. And I think that this is where they've aimed these two processors and the versions of the studio.
And Apple could become a big player in real-time games because I think that there's a real blind spot in the gaming community, which is they don't really have a broadcastable solution. They have a solution that gamers like to watch, and they can fill a stadium every once in a while with gamers, but they're not really hitting the mark on building a truly broadcastable game. And until someone does that, Apple could, step into that market pretty hard, and that's an integrated game that scales to all the way down to your iPhone and Apple TV and all the way up to a Mac Pro, and broadcasts and is able to broadcast. And then you throw a $10 million pot into it for the winner. Things get real interesting real quick, so Apple could.
I'd love to see
that if frankly. They got, but they have to backfill all the hardware first. So I think that this could be something they did in a year or two after they have all of the stuff rolled out.
Yeah, I think that we're looking at. I think they gave us a very clear map today of where their interests are in that kind of content. We did gloss over the Apple TV Plus section because it was meant to be
because we were yawning.
Glossed over. well, also but also one thing that really struck me was that they didn't just.
My eyes are closed.
Yes. But Well, if your eyes were open and you were taking notes like I was, like we were used to saying, "Oh, look how popular Ted Lasso is. Ted Lasso, Ted Lasso, Ted Lasso." Whatever the latest hit is, they really. I was prepared to simply, oh great, I in this section I've got of this montage of what they're doing with Apple TV content. I get to spend the next. I didn't think that I'd have time to move this streaming window to this other display. Now I have time to take notes. But man, they really did a good job of cutting together a montage of content that shows this is not just, hey, look, we hired some people who used to be on Friends to do like an Andy's to do a Sorkin style TV drama. It's like, no, they said here's the children's programming. Here are the people we hired away from Pixar. Here are super high named actors that we have in serious dramas. Here are comedies that we're doing. They really are flexing the idea that they're creating themselves as a real studio, and it demonstrates that if they wanted to be a game studio like that, they certainly could be doing that, but I don't think that they want to. They're putting their money exactly where they want to go. And as far as graphics performance, I think that they're also saying that we feel that it's most important to we want to make sure the content creators with our desktops have the tools they need to create the content that's going to be targeted at our devices. But I think that the future of the company is more leaning towards making sure that your handheld device has enough power to run this content. Your future wearable device has enough GPU power to run this sort of stuff. I think that they made a lot of their intentions known just below the surface of most of the announcements they made today.
And the new iPad Air. We're still waiting for an updated M2 versions of some of these things, but I think we'll be getting them soon. We'll come back. We have more in a little bit. Stay here. I hope you're enjoying our best of for this holiday season. Happy holidays, everybody. A little interruption for one of our favorite sponsors from the year 2022. They're going to be back again in 2023. I'm talking about Melissa. Melissa is the leading provider of global data quality identity verification, address management solutions. They've announced the availability of their brand new 2023 Melissa Solutions Catalog. Yeah, they've got so many wonderful things they can do. They've got a whole catalog of them for you. Melissa's Solutions Catalog features data quality, enrichment, and identity verification solutions that power your business's compliance, your fraud protection, your sales, your customer engagement, your analytics. Quality data in your business is absolutely key. Melissa's created this catalog to help you as an industry resource for database administrators and developers alike, a catalog that highlights the tools that clean, verify, update, dedupe, and enrich customer contact data. Of course, as always with Melissa, their capabilities can be implemented at any point in the data chain. They're designed to ensure all of your global people data, addresses, names, phones, emails are validated, updated, and standardized. Deployments are flexible, available on-prem or as a web service. They've got a secure FTP site you can upload to and download from. They have SaaS delivery options and, of course, the best API in the business. Melissa continues to impress. They have been recognized once again by Gartner in the 2022 Magic Quadrant for Data Quality Solutions. Ray Melissa yes, he's a real person. President and founder Melissa, as a matter of fact, had this to say: "We believe Melissa's recognition in the Magic Quadrant for Data Quality Solutions for the third year running highlights our razor-sharp focus on helping our customers make the most of their customer data. We've made extensive advancements in the area of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and metadata processing, and added knowledge graphs, drag and drop, no-code, low-code functionality, and data quality automation for our product stack. The result is a comprehensive tool set for data quality, address verification, identity verification. With Melissa's tools and services, businesses are empowered to meet complex regulations, streamline onboarding, combat fraud, and really realize the true value of customer data as a business asset." Thank you, Ray. Since 1985, Melissa has specialized in global intelligence solutions to help organizations unlock accurate data for more compelling customer views. Melissa continually undergoes independent security audits. They treat your data like the gold that it is. They've got to reinforce their commitment to data security, privacy, and compliance requirements. They're SOC 2, they're HIPAA, they're GDPR compliant. Your data is in the absolute best possible hands. So, simply enough, make sure your contact data is up to date. Get started today. 1,000 records clean for free. Take a look at the API too. Melissa.com/twit. They really are the best. We loved working with them in 2022. We look forward to a wonderful 2023 together. You need Melissa. If you've got customer data, you need Melissa. Melissa.com/twit. Now, back to the show. Now, I think we should move on to talk about the AirTags. AirTags did not come out in 2022, but a lot of concern about AirTags in terms of privacy. Watch. Kashmir Hill writing in the New York Times, I used Apple's AirTags, tiles, and a GPS tracker to watch my husband's every move.
I mean, at least, so, I mean, to her credit, like she did, this wasn't like a hit job on AirTags. She took a bunch of different trackers and then put her freedom-loving husband through the ringer.
Yeah, I mean, the subhead really tells you what this is all about. A vast location tracking network is being built around us so we don't lose our keys. One couple's adventures in the consumer tech surveillance state. And Apple has made some changes in response to, all the fears about stalking with the AirTags. This came out February 10th from Apple, an update on AirTag and unwanted tracking. They're taking this seriously. Blah, blah, blah. We've become aware that individuals can receive unwanted tracking alerts from benign reasons, such as borrowing someone's keys with an AirTag attached, or when traveling in a car with a family member's AirPods left inside. We've seen reports of bad actors attempting to misuse AirTag for malicious or criminal reasons. We've been working closely with various safety groups and law enforcement. Through our own evaluations and these discussions, we've identified even more ways we can update AirTag safety warnings and help guard against further unwanted tracking. I got to give Apple credit because, as we've pointed out in the show, they're inexpensive GPS devices that do a far better job. In
that article.
Yeah.
In the article, I mean,
in the article,
it was very clear by the end of the article that Apple was not the best one to use for what
you
you're
really
doing.
want to snoop on your spouse.
Well, when we used the Airland C, we used those for our trucks. So we used to use them for our trucks. It was useful.
So Apple is providing paired account details in response to a subpoena or valid request from law enforcement. So beware, criminals. Apple knows who owns those AirTags because each is unique.
Santa Claus.
In fact, we have successfully partnered with them on cases where information we provided has been used to trace an AirTag back to the perpetrator, who was then apprehended and charged.
Apple's going to protect your privacy.
Law enforcement has shared their appreciation. But here's some things. There'll be new privacy warnings during AirTag's setup. Just so you understand better, I think this is a good idea, exactly, how this works. It still doesn't help somebody who doesn't have an AirTag or, more importantly, has an Android device. Addressing alert issues.
I think that's supposed to warn the potential abuser that they're going to be tracked. I think that's
the AirTag is designed, it says, to be detected by victims, and that law enforcement can request identifying information about you. So that's the point of that. Addressing alert issues for AirPods. We've heard from users who've reported receiving an unknown accessory detected alert. We've confirmed this alert will not display if an AirTag is detected near you. Only AirPods, third generation, AirPods Pro, AirPods Max, or a third-party Find My Network accessory. So instead of saying unknown accessory, they're going to say we'll be updating the alert so that it indicates AirPods have been traveling with you. That's actually, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That should, and it's also updating its unwanted tracking support article on apple.com to better communicate the safety features. And then they're thinking about some additional updates they want to introduce later in the year, including precision finding that will help you, if you have an iPhone 11, 12, or 13, see the distance and direction to an unknown AirTag when it's in the range. So you'll be able to track it down.
It makes it easier to find it as opposed to just getting a warning that, hey, it's time for you to tear apart your entire car or tear apart everything within a 20-foot radius in order to find you. Yeah.
And that's the the ultra wideband is capable of a pretty accurate position. So you should only have a box of about 10 centimeters that you have to worry about.
As an iPhone user moves, precision finding fuses input from the camera, AR kit, accelerometer, and gyroscope to guide them to the AirTag through a combination of sound, haptics, and visual feedback. I want that just for finding my keys.
People are really upset about this part because, like, well, there's a whole group of people who just want to be Batman and Batwoman, and I'm discounting those because people get injured in secondary like locations all the time. Don't ever hunt down. These are not meant for you to be a superhero and hunt down your own stuff. But also, people are now worried because, like, this is a very difficult needle to thread because Apple designed them to find lost items. They did not design them to stalk people, and they did not design them for you to be Batman or Spider-Man or whatever. But there are people now who worry that if they leave it in their camera bag or leave it in their wallet, previously the person, like the whole network wouldn't know where your wallet or your camera was. You would just know that it was there and you could go get it. And now it's like, oh, they're precision finding my wallet, and oh, they're precision finding my camera bag. But Apple's making a conscious choice that the potential abuse is more harmful than the potential something you already lost, and now you can at least have a chance of recovering it.
Did anybody watch Apple's first Friday night baseball last Friday?
Did we?
No.
Yeah, we did.
What'd you think?
The announcing was really bad.
Awful.
You know, it was just awful. And I thought we talked about this. Wasn't that 2 weeks ago, or did we talk about it?
No, it was It was April 8th.
Maybe we talked about it on our show.
Maybe.
So I think that the announcing was just like people weren't. It was like listening to someone who didn't really care about the game. I think that was the issue. There was just lots of chatter. It was like going with your friends that aren't really into the game and having them talk amongst themselves and sometimes interact with the game and sometimes not. And so I think that I only watched about 20 minutes of it. That's about all I could take. And so I think that it was, I mean, you get started and you're experimenting, and, I think that they're trying to match certain targets and so on and so forth. And so they're trying to figure that out, but it was not a good thing. And I did like I thought there's a lot of complaints about the graphics. I thought the graphics were, I liked them.
So they're doing a very simple, and by the way, if you have Apple TV Plus, you could still watch the games, and they also have a lot of extra highlights and features during the week, but you could still watch, at least because I missed the game live, but I watched it later. Apple's very much changing the style of presentation. They've got, I think, very simple, clean graphics. What I didn't like, Alex, was they kept playing cheesy stock background music every time they pulled a graphic up. Like, that's not,
need that.
What the hell is that all about? I see that a lot with millennials and younger, where we used to call it the MTV generation. Obviously, it's not that anymore, but it's like, we don't trust your attention span. So if we're showing a graphic, we're just going to play some music so you feel good, because we just don't trust that you're going to be, you're going to change the channel. I don't understand it. And everything, it's a YouTube, maybe it's a YouTube generation. Everything does it now. There's lots of background music behind stuff, and I'm not a big fan of that. And baseball, the background music is the roar of the crowd, the guy saying, "Be here," the crack of the bat, the smell of the pine tar. That's...
Well, and I think that there's such an opportunity for multiple streams of audio. We were talking about this on Office Hours.
We did talk about that. We were talking last week about what they might do.
The possibility. Yeah. So I'd love to see them, but I'd love to see them get aggressive about making it customizable, at least through the audio. And I will tell you, I've had the opportunity to watch some games where I'm listening to the comms and watching the multi-view of that the truck's using, and I could watch that all it's an entirely different experience.
Yeah, really experiment.
I'd pay money for that, because you can just listen to it. You can just listen to them talk.
Apple's idea of a big experiment was having a woman do the play-by-play, which, to my knowledge, has not yet been done in Major League Baseball. It's definitely a sexist man's sport. So they had color was done by a former player who wasn't really, nobody was very confident yet. And that's okay. You kind of expect that. Although you also expect them to do a lot of rehearsals. They should have been doing all summer doing play-by-play.
When a pro goes, for most major networks, my understanding is when a pro goes from being a football player to being an announcer, there's 6 to 18 months of them getting trained.
Right.
It's a hard. It's not like they just come out of it and start talking about it.
And it's even harder for the play-by-play folk. I'm going to say folk, even though they're guys. I know, I have good friends who do play-by-play, and I have good friends who are coming up in play-by-play. Most of them end up going to Syracuse, because they have a very good school where you can learn play-by-play. And then you do the same thing the ball players do. You go to single A ball. You go to double A ball. My friend, who's the son of Hank Greenwald. Hank Greenwald was the Giants announcer for decades. His son wanted to get into this, went to Syracuse just like Hank did, and has been working his way up. And at the same time, he's doing play-by-play in the single-A ball. He's selling the ads. He's sweeping out it is a grueling years process, and he still hasn't made it to the majors. It's been more than 10 years. So it takes time.
We see this all the time when we're doing live streams with corporations and they want their seat-level people to do the show or a marketing person do the show. And I'm like, why don't we get an announcer? I think that we could, let's call Soledad O'Brien.
Yeah.
let's call Leo. Let's go somebody that we can have that has done 1,000 of these, because it takes 1,000 of these to get good at it. And it's just because you have to move the understanding of what you're doing from your frontal lobe to your lower brain. And that just takes time, so that your things are just coming out of your mouth while you're watching, and it just is the proper thing. And it's really hard, and I think they underestimated it.
I think the big disappointment here is that if you're doing this through an app where you can do anything you want as a content creator, why are you just simply trying to replicate the TV experience? Are you saying that the way that sports is being broadcast on television is it can't possibly be improved upon? And I think we talked about this before a couple of weeks ago, where I would love it if they simply said, we're going to have 4 different commentary tracks depending on what you want. We will get a long time whoever has the radio experience in that local market will get the home team. Whoever has radio experience in the opposing team's market will get another feed. We will have a minimal talk sort of thing where someone just says, and that's 2 balls, 2 strikes. and now it's Ferguson coming in to replace the left-hander, because it's like the number of times where I'm watching a lot of women's college softball on YouTube, because I came across, again, the algorithm recommended like a random broadcast, and I just love it, not only because the level of athleticism and the level of play is so high, but also because they're not trying to razzle dazzle. This is like a college a TV station, and they just give you the information you need. They give it to you in a way that's pleasant, but it's not like there's no and now let's have some wanging guitars, as the pitches change. It's like, no, you can hear people shout in the background. That's fine. Give me silence. Let me have my own experience.
We did a test with golf where it was for VR, and you could just watch the clean aperture, nothing on the screen. And you could turn the announcer on and off, or you just listen to the crowd and everything else. Yep. And then it put the scoreboard on the other side. So you just look over and see the scoreboard, see what the leaderboard looked like.
That's apparently what they did at the Masters.
It was just so great.
In our chat room, user 8827 said the Masters live stream was great this year. You could turn off the commentary. It was just the sounds of the golf course, the birds, the winds, the crowds, and the sound of the swing.
Their app was actually pretty interesting. So the Masters had an app out that was running during it yesterday, it was 2 days ago, and they let you look at groups of holes as well. So you could just go, I just want to watch where this is. Now I didn't see any place where and you could also go back and look at the last time a Tiger Woods or whatever was swinging. You could just follow along and look at all of their hits. So it was really interesting, to put that together. They had a little bit of a, they were playing it safe. So they did this thing where they had 10-second segments, which means that there's a big delay every time you change feeds. But outside of that, it was a pretty interesting approach to a sport. And I think golf in general has been doing, because there's so much time to do other things. It is, I think it's innovated a lot. RNA, that does the Open in the UK, has been doing live streams to everyone at the location for over a decade.
Now, I will say the video is great. To watch it in 4K, and that was really nice. So maybe the announcers are new. I don't know where they came from. Just maybe it's going to just take a little time for them to settle in. I have to say I'm often very dissatisfied with play-by-play announcers in Major League Baseball and NFL. Some of these people are terrible. I guess it's like getting a good quarterback or a great pitcher. They're few and far between, and when you're the Vin Scullys of the world just don't come along all the time.
Yeah, I think that you the value of silence.
Yes, there's a rhythm to play-by-play.
Well, I think that there's a lot of. I know that for me, when I watch a football game, there are certain people that I'll watch just because they're calling the show. Like I watch a Steeler game, obviously, and I'll put up with whatever, shows up as an announcer. But if I see, on a Sunday, if I feel like watching a game, I just look where Tony Romo is.
Romo's great because
or Chris Collinsworth. Those are the two.
I'm not a fan of Collinsworth.
Oh, I like him. It took me a while.
Yeah,
I didn't like him at first.
He's no Al Michaels. That's the problem, is that there are these greats, and maybe we're just used to them. So maybe that's all it is what we're.
Well, I don't think that's his role. I think those are two different roles, because Al Michaels is really calling it.
Play by
Chris
play.
Collinsworth is color. So so he, it's a different approach to it. But I love the Tony Romo gets so excited, and then
he knows what he's talking about too, which really helps.
Yeah, you're fresh out of the system, and I mean that's what John Madden
that's right,
pioneered.
He was great too. Although I know people, my wife, who hated him. So again, it's a very personal thing. The reaction, as one would expect from fans and from sports talk, was pretty negative. But some of it's because one of the games had a female play-by-play announcer, and that's very uncommon. I think I was watching. I haven't seen. I don't know if you've seen the new Adam McKay show on HBO, Winning Time, about the L.A. Lakers of the 80s. But Chick Hearn's in there, of course, the great L.A. Laker play-by-play guy, and he's kind of a jerk. And when he gets a partner who's going to, well, I won't. No spoilers. I won't tell you what happens to the partner eventually. But he says, "Okay, see this hand? When it's a fist, you stop talking." The partner's doing the color.
Yeah.
You stop talking. And he goes all the time, right in the middle of the you stop talking. But Chick Hearn was a legend. There's a legend, but he doesn't come off very well in that show. I think I liked Madden a lot. I really liked Madden a lot. Yeah. Anyway, Apple, I don't know where they would go to get somebody better. I mean, everybody, is taken. I don't know if there aren't any free agents.
Again, I think that they just have to work out, and look at what their value proposition is. We did some parallel streams. We've done like second year experiences where we bring people in. It's just a different format. Like we don't even try to call the show. We just let you. It's like sitting around with a bunch of pros that are people who used to play the game, all sitting around talking to each other about the game is really fun. And that's just one of the audio tracks. It can just be. Like you could literally take the two teams and just put the players from both sides sitting in there just talking about the game. And there's a lot of people I would listen to that, because these are people who actually were on the ground at that level talking about like what they're noticing, or, oh, that guy was always this way, or look at what he's doing with his leg. I would never do that. He can't pick up your leg when you're swinging. And they're just going back and forth, and you get true like real. No, I don't know, true, but you get the feeling of inside baseball.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard thing to do. I'm not, I would never attempt it.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, just the commentators who know the relationship between the catcher and the umpire, who says, who know what the catcher is doing to that specific umpire to make the strike zone a little bit bigger. That's the sort of stuff that makes you into a huge fan of a commentator, as opposed to just the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like these guys were reading. You always, one of the things, I've spent a lot of time in play-by-play booths. You have statisticians, you have helpers, especially in broadcast television. You have lots of people who are giving you cards and with stats on them. And you could tell the announcers they were just getting fed the lines. They were just reading the lines the whole time. That's fine. But I want some insight.
I think, again, this is the first time they're going to do it every week for a while. So they're,
I'll watch it again.
I'll judge them more. Like I might come back in 12 weeks and see like, okay, now where are they? Did they do anything?
Yeah.
And even the first season may be hard. I mean, the whole first season it's really hard to change gears in the middle. So it may be one of those things like they're going to learn a lot, and then next year will look a lot different.
Yeah. And is it 4K? I think it is. It sure looks like.
I think that it's actually sourced in 1080 and it's getting scaled up. I don't think that. I don't think that it's for actual 4K. I would be excited if it was, and I think that that's where Apple, what this provides is a weekly platform for Apple to go to 4K, for Apple to go to high frame rate. For Apple to go to 8K high frame rate, so you could, Apple can play with all these things because all the TVs are all 120, right? And so it's, it's just a matter of releasing a new Apple TV that can do it.
Yeah.
And then Apple could put out, so that we may be seeing them just experiment. And then, oh, by the way, here's 8K, because that would be really hard for, I've seen a lot of sports at 8K 120, and I've seen baseball at 8K 120. And I can tell you that once you see it, it's really hard to go back. Like it is like, because it just looks like a window, you know, like right in front of you. And it's amazing. And so like, I'm not proposing that films should be 20, they should stay at 24.
Yeah.
But live events at 8K 120s, and now they have a platform to do it with, and all they got to do is put the cameras out there.
Yeah. It did crash too, by the way, in the middle of
I didn't see that. I guess I
didn't either.
Talk about it, but
I didn't see it
crash.
either. Yeah. Because I was watching the replay where it did not crash, so maybe a lot of people were watching.
I jumped on it live, and I as a person who does live, anytime someone does something for the first time, I kind of expected it to crash. I expected like a long wait, and so when it popped right up and it was playing well, I was like, they did a pretty good job. Those guys must know what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. What a surprise! You know, I think on balance, you're exactly right. This is a great opportunity for Apple and to do something interesting. So it's worth it, and I'll be watching again every week because I think the picture quality, the graphics do make it fun, and you can always turn the sound off if you want, or pull up the radio if you want the play-by-play from the homers.
The problem is, I think that with streaming, we put so much buffer into it, you would be hearing what happened like 30 seconds before.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. In fact, I had that question on the radio show: how do I synchronize? And what I would used to do is I would pause my TiVo on the back crack, and then wait till TuneIn caught up, and then press play. And then you got them all because synced. TuneIn was really delayed as well. So it was actually, audio was actually behind the video on TuneIn. That probably would, I don't know, I'll have to try it. I'll let you know.
Funny.
I'll let you know. Apple's Friday Night Baseball. I still can't watch it. It has gotten no better through the year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. That's what they say in baseball too. Ironically, maybe next year. Now we go to a farewell to one of Apple's most successful products of all time. It's nice to see Rene Ritchie, isn't it? He had some good stories about the iPod. On the other hand, if you were to invest your money into some mint in the box iPod Touches right now, you might be pretty loaded. Don't touch those, Rene. Don't even open them. Don't unseal them. How many do you have?
I got 2 mint in the box iPod Touches here. For some reason, I don't know why I never opened them. And then I've got like the opened versions. I have the open gold version too, but it's out of reach.
Wow. The man is flush.
Very duplicative.
But this is the last iPod, and it is now official that after 21 years, it's the end of the line for iPod. Apple announced today that the iPod Touch will be available while supplies last.
But the music lives on, Leo. The music lives on.
Well, I guess
stop the music.
I guess they must have a few in the warehouse.
Yeah, that's such good marketing. Saying no, we're not end of lifing and discontinuing a product that we're having. That most people wondered why it was surprised we're still on the price list anyway. No, this is a limited edition opportunity to be in on the end of a term of legend.
They should have made NFTs at least.
Well, people are fighting for for the original HomePods now. Like they're harder and harder to get.
Yeah.
And people are like, just give them to us. They're fighting over them like they're Tickle Me Elmo dolls or something.
So music is always. This is Greg Joswiak. Jaws, now Senior Vice President of Worldwide Marketing. He took Schiller's role. Music has always been part of our core at Apple, bringing it to hundreds of millions of users in the way iPod did, impacted more than just the music industry. This is actually, sounds like hyperbole, but I think it's fair. It also redefined how music is discovered, listened to, and shared. Today, the spirit of iPod lives on. I don't know if that's true. We've integrated an incredible music experience across all of our products, from iPhone to the Apple Watch to HomePod Mini and across Mac, iPad, Apple TV. So, bye-bye. It was introduced October 23rd, 2001. I vividly remember that day. It went through a lot of iterations. The shuffle, remember the shuffle? Remember the chewing gum?
The buttonless shuffle.
The buttonless shuffle. The iPod Touch was the last version.
The wide nano.
Yeah. Remember this one? The little clip-on for sports?
That was a very cool design.
Yeah. What killed the iPod Touch? Was it just
it became a feature.
It's a feature. Yeah. iPod Touch
product a feature.
Was how much? $279? What was it?
I don't remember what it got down to. It got down really low at a
Did it? Okay.
Because it's basically an iPhone 5. Like that thing is ancient at this point.
Yeah. But it was a good choice for kids that you didn't want to buy them an iPhone, but you wanted to give them something.
Yeah, but it just became, like Rene said, just a real technological relic. And even the standalone iPods, they, for a long time, they had a really important niche, meaning that there are people who are out running, there are people who are exercising, who don't want like a $1,000 phone or $500 phone falling in their pocket, to say nothing of all that weight, but this beautiful little clip design that would have either a really cheap iPod that could play all that digital rights managed iTunes content that they'd purchased, or even this postage stamp thing with a screen and a user interface that could have like Nike fitness apps on it. That was a hell of an object. It was a real moment for Apple design, because this is I'm really intrigued by what Apple's design people can do when they're not constrained by form factors that are kind of dictated by conventions, where you can say, nope, all we really need is a play and a pause button. Above that, go nuts. But then, of course, the solution to the, hey, I'm exercising and I want to be able to listen to music became Apple Watch plus AirPods. And so even that was aced out of the market. They couldn't compete with all the super, super cheap stuff that was out there for people who actually wanted something that if it fell off their t-shirt while they're running, get a $20 thing from AliExpress or from no-name Amazon, because you won't care about it. Otherwise, yeah, you don't want to lose your Apple Watch.
Yeah, right now they're selling the 32 gig iPod Touch for $200.
Yeah.
$300 for 128 gigs, $400. No wonder they're killing this product for 256 gigs. And you probably, you have an iPhone that's got at least 32 gigs free floating around. I can't see even buying a 32 gig version of this for a kid. The kid would be insulted.
Developer camp was probably the last thing that they used them for, was to buy 30 for a developer camp or something.
Yeah.
And also the camera. You want to talk about living in shame, posting to Instagram with a 2000 with a iPhone 5 level camera on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta wonder why. The thing is, I always try to measure my complaints about things, because you never know. It'd be easy to say, oh gosh, I can't believe they still sell that, but there's probably a really, really esoteric reason why they were selling it. That there was some market somewhere that insisted that, hey, we need something to run iOS apps, but it can't be a phone, it can't have a cellular radio in it, and they kept it on the market because
Pentagon.
I don't. Well, Apple
has a camera.
Apple actually will sell like a government an actual iPhone with actual iPhone branding on it that simply has a flat plane on the back of it instead of a cover with the iPhones on it. So again, I keep and given how much it costs to do tooling on any new product, I wonder who it was who was buying just enough of these, or what contract they had that required that, hey, if you're going to operate in this market, you must also offer amongst your product line a product that does this. That said, you know what, it is just paying the fines would cost more than just keeping this one little tiny product on the assembly line.
Or if they overordered and took them 2 years to clean them out.
Apple announced, and probably to little applause, some life-changing things. This iPad OS is one of them. The other one is Passkey. Yes. So Steve Gibson's talked about Passkey. This is an initiative from Google, Microsoft, and now very much Apple to eliminate passwords. And I think that in a few years, you're going to look back on passwords and say, that was
I think a lot of us have been trying to get past it and past the passkey, and past the password. And I think that was probably the most important announcement.
Huge.
Yesterday
was
the fact that we're going to get to a point where we're building it into the infrastructure and I think it's going to be transformational to the whole world, because as people start to get out of that and because it's being supported by a lot of other people, it could potentially be a really big deal.
Well, and it doubles down on the biometrics that Apple is now basically putting everywhere, and I expect to see biometric keyboards for the desktops as well, because now using biometrics, Face ID or Touch ID, you can have an absolutely phishing-proof login to apps and websites, and you don't need a password. You don't need a password manager. That's going to be very, very big.
The thing that is really important, though, is that Apple is pairing that up with other privacy initiatives, because the real thing now is that we will know who you are, and we have to protect what that means.
That's right.
In a bigger, and because we will absolutely know that you're on that computer and it's you interacting, and that's going to be it's a tricky problem is that, people have been able to say, well, I don't know if that was me or not. You won't be able to say that anymore.
That might be good.
I think it's great. No, I think
that might be a big improvement. You've been the one arguing to eliminate anonymity online.
Yeah, I think that it's great. It's going to change the way we interact with people, but there are people that it puts in danger that need to be able to be, so we just have to kind of weigh that out. And I think that the company that is probably the most ahead of that is Apple, thinking about how are we going to keep us private, but authenticated.
Well, and I think that's also why they announced, what was it, Safe Kit or what is it? Personal safety. They
safety check.
Safety check.
Yeah.
And I saw a number of women, quite a few women on Twitter saying, you don't even understand how important this is.
Yeah.
This is huge for domestic violence victims, for partners of crazy people, for people who want to, separate their identity. And I think it maybe goes hand in hand with passkey. In other words, if you're going to have passkey, you need safety check. Apple pays attention to this stuff. God bless them. And of course, they learned their lesson with AirTags, and I think that also heightened their awareness. But I have to say, this is a sad moment on the show because we are going to take a little blow to the quality of the show because our dear friend Rene Ritchie, this is his last pick of the week and his last visit on a regular basis. And I think we want to keep the door open that you might come back from time to time on MacBreak Weekly.
Yes, I would love that.
And details on what's going on for Rene to follow.
To follow, yes. I can't say anything yet.
Yeah. But we are
excited.
Rene, you have been, when did you start on MacBreak Weekly?
Oh, gosh. 2011, 2012? I'm not sure.
It feels like you've always been here.
Because I've been always watching. That's why I feel like I've never.
And without, you are our debunker in chief. You are the guy who has the inside knowledge. Your honesty, your integrity, the quality of your content, and just the wonderful, genial nature of your delivery makes you irreplaceable, totally irreplaceable.
I'm not crying. I have allergies.
It is a great loss to the show, and I'm sorry to lose you. I'm going to go. I think I can do a search.
I miss this terribly.
Search for your name here, Rene Ritchie, and find out when you first
Does
appeared.
the internet go back that long?
I think, though, that what we do is when we say appearances,
you might need a real player to play those.
View appearances. I think they sort them chronologically. I'm thinking. So that's the most recent. Let's go to 35 pages of appearances.
Oh, wow.
And there's quite a few shows per appearance. Say again? 2013. Although I see you on the show here June 6th, 2012. June 26th, 2012. So interestingly, it's been almost exactly 10 years since it's your first appearance on the show.
It feels like a minute, Leo. Like time really does fly.
It's a fast decade, and I am just so sad to be losing you, but I'm sure it will be a happy occasion when we find out where you're going, unless it's like you're moving to Ecuador to raise llamas.
No. Okay. No, Equatorial Guinea, no.
Okay.
I can't take the climate.
Okay, I hope that's not the case.
He's gonna be vacationing in Patagonia like the Dread Pirate Roberts.
We are going to.
He's the new Minchi Kuo. It's like, have you ever considered getting into Macintosh?
All his shows will be in Chinese from now on.
Suddenly, we're going to see pictures of a bird's nest.
We don't know. It's a mystery. We do know who we're replacing him with, but I'm going to keep that mystery for next Tuesday when that person will join our panel. It is not an easy
thing. Get the bingo
thing.
cards out, kids.
It is not an easy thing to do to replace Rene. In fact, we're not attempting to replace Rene, but there is an empty seat, so we'll find somebody to.
Alex can CGI me. No one will even know that I'm gone. I mean, he's got the technology for years already. I'm not even sure he shows up anymore.
I haven't been here for 5 years.
Yeah, Alex hasn't been here in 3 years.
This is just an AI rendering.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Things like when there's a new Doctor Who.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Not the same. You can't replace it. Someone will reinvent the character of person in the leftmost seat and make it their own, I'm sure.
So,
Junior,
can I ask you what's going to happen to youtube.com/Rene Ritchie? Is that
It's continuing. I'm going to keep the YouTube channel going. I was previously thinking of changing it a little bit. Like, as you've heard me say before, I'm kind of like burned out on the leak culture, and I've gotten burned out on the benchmark gotcha, product release schedule. So I was already thinking about changing it. I'm probably not going to have the time to do like 4 videos a week anymore. I'm definitely going to try to at least do 1 video, maybe a live stream every week. And I want to cover just bigger tech issues. I think that's gonna be my next big YouTube attempt. Same channel,
Pokemon
but just
Twitch channel.
bigger stories.
And
Pokemon.
And you did say that we can from time to time bring you back, and I hope that's the case.
Yes, I very much hope so.
Okay.
Yes,
because it's really going to leave a hole in the show and in my heart.
Thank you.
We're going to miss you.
Same.
Thank you, Rene, for 10 years of
Thank you so much.
Just excellent contributions to the channel. Now we have a problem, Houston. There's this empty seat on the panel because Rene Ritchie, who is, by the way, in the Discord, if you want to wish him luck, Club Twit members, has passed on. What? No, he's not. He's moved to a higher plane. No, wait a minute, that's not right.
We're joking. He's only dead to us.
He is. We still don't know, and he says, "What did he say? The release hasn't gone out yet, but as soon as the release goes out, we'll tell you where he is now." Of course, he's still at youtube.com/Rene Ritchie, but we thought, well, who could we get with Rene's stature in the Apple community, his inside knowledge of what's going on, funny, talented, gray-haired. Who could we get? And I'm so thrilled to welcome Jason Snell as a regular.
Hello.
I've been trying to get you in this show for years, decades. Hello, Jason. Welcome.
It's good to be here. It's an honor to succeed Rene. I mean, 10 years on a podcast is a pretty big thing to do. And I know Rene going way back. We all love Rene. It was an honor to be asked to do this.
You have a lot of other things that you're doing, so I'm honored that you could make some time to be here a couple hours a week. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Sure. And today I just happened to be in the neighborhood. I actually live not that far away from the
15
TWiT
minutes,
studios.
20?
So that was about half an hour.
Half an hour away. Wow.
Yeah,
However
quite a commute. I work out of my garage, so this was. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is what a commute is like.
So nice to see you.
It's great to be here.
Jason's been on our shows since practically the beginning of TWiT. You have 6colors.com. In fact, I think when you started with us on TWiT, you were still at Macworld.
Oh yeah, for sure. In fact, I remember distinctly being on the first iteration of MacBreak.
Yeah. The video version.
The video version.
Yeah, with Alex.
In the old.
Well, and even before that, of course, a regular on Call for Help on Tech TV. That's right. Where we met.
That's
right.
right.
Means I've known you for 20 years.
Wow, that is because I was an editor at Macworld, and we were down. That was a long time ago because we were down on Howard Street back then before we even moved to 2nd Street. So that was a long time ago. Yeah,
that's
and
nice.
Of course, we shared Jerry Day, who I went to kindergarten with, was one of your producers.
Oh, that's right.
Back in the day.
Jerry now runs the film production for some small town in
up in Tuolumne County, I think. Yeah,
for Tuolumne County.
Yeah.
Kind of a slow job, but when movies need to be made, somebody has to be there to make them.
Tuolumne County is where we both grew up. Is a great way. I didn't know we were going to be talking about this, but it doubles for the Old West a lot. So a lot of film production up there. Okay. If you need to pretend that you're in the Old West, yeah.
Well, I'm glad I have a Jerry Day expert on the panel.
Yeah, it's
Thank
good.
you.
I know that needed to be just a shout out to Jerry. He's out there somewhere.
It is so seriously. Replacing Rene is tough because he has such great connections and such knowledge. But we couldn't do any better. I don't think ever than getting Jason Snell. And of course, you were good friends with Andy and Alex as well.
I mean, I often usually take my afternoon walk like right after the show, and so I just found out about Rene leaving right after the show. So I'm taking my hour-long walk, and unfortunately, as usual, your thoughts are inside your head, which is a bad thing. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, what a surprise! That was too bad. And I'm thinking about how much I was going to miss, for having my nice 2-hour conversation with my really good friend like Rene, because it leaves me just like with all of you guys. I'm energized. It's like it's very, very pleasant. Like, geez, I'm going to really miss that. Then when I find out that Jason is going to be filling that slot, I mean, Jason and I have been friends for so long. He's probably sick of me saying it, but so long that he's the person who told me how to boldface things in HTML. That's how long we've known each other.
Bracket B, bracket.
I was my first job out of grad school was at Mac User Magazine, where Andy was a columnist, and so I've known Andy since since the mid 90s. Basically, it's a long time now. Long time.
He's survived. Our friendship has survived him being my editor for a very long time. So that is being like that's like the sort of friendships you make in foxholes.
So the camera crew has come in to take the official still shot. So if you would put your right hand inside your you're wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah, I didn't know about the dress code.
Just teasing. Oh, Daddy got into the triple sec. Sorry about that. Back to the show. Here, I'm not going to need any more of this. You can have it. Just keep it right there. We are looking back at the year 2022. Lots of fun things happened during MacBreak Weekly. Of course, 2022 was the year the M2s emerged, and Jason Snell it was the first, I think, to say how much he loved the M2 MacBook Air. Now we all have them. Here's his review.
Let's kick things off. I have to say, I was very excited this morning. I woke up and I looked at my phone, and there were two things I was looking for. One was a notification from my doctor for the results of my COVID test to make sure that I didn't have it. And I was negative for COVID and the two variants of flu that they're testing for now. So yay, that was exciting. But one I wasn't expecting, but that I did get, was a notification from FedEx saying that a package from Apple was on its way. A package I wasn't expecting to get until mid-August is now coming this coming Tuesday, not today, but this next Tuesday. And that is an M2 MacBook Air that I thought I was going to have to wait a lot longer for. But some folks, Jason Snell included, have an early look at the MacBook Air and have done a review. So tell us, Jason, what your thoughts are on the new M2 MacBook Air.
Micah, is this your card?
Oh my God, how did you guess?
I guessed it was M2 MacBook Air. It's here for some people, mostly base configurations. But yeah, it sounds like they're starting to ship to everybody else. I got mine a couple of weeks ago. Couldn't talk about it last week. Was not allowed. Had to pretend I didn't have it. But it's here now. I've been a big fan of the MacBook Air since the early days. I actually had that first MacBook Air that was terrible, but I loved it because it was so small. And then fortunately, they got rid of that and replaced it with the one that we all know and love in 2010. And it's been Apple's most popular laptop for basically the last decade. And this is a big redesign in the sense that it's really based on that design language from the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros that were introduced last year. So they've got the wedge shape is out, the little kind of curvy edges are out. And instead, you've got this sort of flat kind of like the curves right on the edges, but otherwise perfectly flat. It's got MagSafe. It's got two USB-C ports and an M2 processor that we already know because it's the same one that was in that MacBook Pro that was released last month. And it's a new era for the MacBook Air. And I just want to point out something, which is that I gave the headline a new era and spelled it out. I noticed that The Verge's story about it was also headlined a new era, but they decided to say AIR-A because they didn't trust their readers to get it.
No.
I trust my readers to get it.
Thank you for not having contempt for your readers. So I have to say, I was kind of surprised. So I got the midnight version, and I got the one with 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and a terabyte of storage. So I thought, I'm going to have to wait, and that's fine. So I was shook and shocked when I saw that it's supposed to be coming this next week. I know that lots of base configuration models were shipping on time or arriving on time, but have any of you seen any other folks talking about how theirs that was originally pushed further out are coming sooner? Or was this just kind of a fluke for me?
I've heard that the 16 with terabyte is actually like a secret. They seem to have built a bunch of those because I've heard a bunch of those being in stock in Apple stores too. And that's a tip for those of you who really are desperate to get your hand on this laptop or maybe some other Apple product when it comes out. They reserve an amount of them and put them in stores that are not available. So you might think, well, it's back ordered for a month, so I'm not going to be able to get my hands on it. I placed that online order and now I wait. Well, you can cancel that online order if you need to, because you should check with your local store or maybe go to your local store. They often have stock. And one of the things I've heard is that 1 terabyte storage model with the 16 gigs of RAM is also something that has been cropping up in Apple stores.
That is a good tip. That's a really good tip. So
yeah, I
tell
picked
us
up
about.
a couple.
I've
definitely picked up a couple of things first thing in the morning, and also like you just get there right as it opens, and oftentimes they have 3-4 of them of many things that are oftentimes sold out. They kind of seed those out. It's also useful to be I've learned over time that back when we were buying lots and lots of computers, that being a business user is useful. You should do it if you have a business. Sign up, build a relationship.
Yeah, because they have a business rep at the Apple Store, and they will talk to you, and they will reserve things for you and help you.
Exactly. They'll be like, hey,
it's quite nice.
Tomorrow would be great if you came in. It'd be great to visit here tomorrow.
I've got a bag with from when I got my last MacBook Pro. Well, when TWiT got the last MacBook Pro, there's still a bag that I have that has my name on like a label on the side. Whenever I walked in, they were like, "Oh, not only did they help me out, but they were also like, we had your shows on today," which was just a really kind of fun thing. But I'm curious, how do you approach, Jason, or how did you approach the review for this specific MacBook Air? And was it for you a comparison to that MacBook Pro that people seem to be kind of confused about that just came out? Or were you really looking at it as an iteration on the MacBook Air itself? Or did you answer some of those questions like, should I get this or should I get the MacBook Pro?
I think the most important context is to compare it to the MacBook Airs of old, not only the M1, which is sort of the last of that other era, but also of Intel MacBook Airs, because the truth is most people updating to this computer are not coming from an M1 Air. They're coming from an Intel MacBook Air probably. And so I tried to think about that. I got this. I was actually on vacation when this came in, which was weird because Apple is very secretive about sending you review units. And I had to be like, you need to send this to a condo that is a Verbo in San Diego. And I've never been there before, but here's the address and it should work. And it all worked fine. But I ended up with 2 MacBook Airs. I ended up with my MacBook Air and this MacBook Air. And so it was kind of great because I was on vacation. And so I had a laptop in the condo and I was checking email and writing stuff. And I was doing, whatever, like not working because I was on vacation, but I got to travel with it, which I thought was actually, that's good, right? Like that's a part of the point of doing a laptop. And then in my approach, the truth is what we learned about the M1 is true of the M2, which is these chips are what they are. And you can put them in different wrappers, and the performance, if you do benchmark testing, is largely identical because, an M1 Air and an M1 Mini and an M1 13-inch MacBook Pro and an M1 iMac, they're all the same. They all get the same scores, more or less. So I tried to focus on the MacBook Air experience and also think a little bit about coming from Intel. My wife has a 2018 Intel MacBook Air she probably won't have very much longer, and it is startling how much you forget if you've been living on an M1 MacBook Air for a while, how slow in comparison those Intel MacBook Airs were. And that's just a function of the Apple Silicon transition more than anything else. And yeah, the M2 is faster than M1. There's no doubt about it. And the design is really nice. And having MagSafe come back, and not just because it's MagSafe and all the benefits of that, but having that extra port now. My M1 Air has that little dealie that you stick into the USB-C port that gives it fake MagSafe. And that's great, but that means I have one port. So having 2 usable ports is also a big part of this. But yeah, in the end, for me, it was mostly about what's the MacBook Air experience like, because I think that not only is it the most popular laptop, but that's the context most people are considering when they're buying this thing or thinking about buying it. Absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of been one of the ongoing questions. I know Leo has talked a lot about how the sort of single core performance of all of the M1 series devices is very similar. The single core performance of these ones are likely to be very similar, and it's only in multi-core performance things. And so when you look at like the MacBook Air, which is this device that in theory is meant for browsing the web and doing some writing tasks and that kind of thing, then we don't necessarily look at that performance boost as part of it, which I think is part of the reason why, it doesn't have that active cooling system, right? But at the same time, I've seen folks talk about how they, threw a bunch of tasks at it, opened up a bunch of tabs, tried to do these little things. They couldn't get it to slow down. And it's fascinating to me what Apple Silicon has done in terms of
changing the way that folks are kind of looking at these devices and trying to turn them into these productivity machines to an extra extent. I'm so confused, or not confused, but rather I'm so fascinated by how now they get a MacBook Air and they're trying to push it as hard as they can, even though this device maybe in years before was not meant that way. I mean, do we feel like that is because of the performance gains we've got from Apple Silicon itself, or is it just something that maybe I hadn't noticed before?
I mean, Andy can back me up on this. It's the bar being raised over time, right? Like it used to be like, oh, well, word processing. But as computers have advanced and in the power of Apple Silicon, that bar keeps getting raised. So now as a reviewer, I look at it and I say, you might not want to do 8K renders on this for an hour because it'll slow down. It'll still do it. It'll just be a little bit slower. And it's like 8K renders, right? Like the bar has been raised a lot over time. And the truth is 99.9% of people who buy the MacBook Air will never get it to throttle. Even it will maybe get a little warm, maybe, and that's about it.
I think that our expectations grow. It's like a bag, our expectations will grow with no matter how fast you make the processor. We're going to go, well, it's pretty good. Like it could have done this better. It could have rendered 8K, or I could have been able to render, whatever those things are. But I will say that it's just incredible. Like these all the M1s. I mean, I'm not traveling as much, so I have a lot of the M1 minis. And I'm still taken aback by how fast they are, and that they just jumped so much forward. And then obviously the Studio has been great as well. We've done some pretty extensive tests with the Studio with video, and you just keep on adding more outputs, and you're like, it's going to slow down eventually.
Yeah,
maybe
that just points out I agree absolutely with Jason's saying. I mean, when you're reviewing these things, it's hard to come up with a real world scenario in which you can say, oh, geez, that's too bad. Because even stacked up next to like mid-range, big, like 8-fan helicopter cooling style Windows laptops, this thing is just thrashing in the benchmarks and in other hands-on actual tests. But the thing is, like when you're the Apple's problem is that they don't charge. They're not really good at giving you a really, really great deal. Like if this were an $800 laptop, we could possibly be reviewing things in sense of, well, but you know what? What are you going to get? Let's not expect too much because this is an $800 laptop. These are great benchmarks. It is appropriate to see, well, let's see what it takes to really make these things suffer and scream. Because look, for a lot of these people are spending $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 on a MacBook Air. And for that amount of money, even at the lower end, they have a right to expect like the best possible upgrade they could possibly get over whatever they were using before.
I think that's a great point too. The idea that we could be cynical about the fact that this is $11.99 and that the last year's model, essentially the M1 Air, is still on the price list at $9.99. But I think the other way to view it, and Andy, you were kind of getting at it there too, is that M1 MacBook Air is great, right? And like, although I wish that this M2 Air was $9.99, it's not for various reasons. I think they are going to need to get it there eventually. But I'm so glad that $9.99 price point is still there. And the fact is, Apple Silicon was such a leap that even if you end up, I think that it's a legitimate buy, a good buy to buy the M1 MacBook Air even today, if you are looking at the prices and going, oh, it's a little too rich for my blood, because at $9.99, that M1 Air is still going to do 99.9% of the jobs that you ever wanted as fast as you could possibly want them.
Yeah, another response with a lot of nines in it. I think that it's really, really important that Apple hold that line and make sure there's always a MacBook available for less than $1,000, even if it's $1 less, because that also means that education prices is probably going to be $100 less. And there's so many people for whom that $100 or that $200 difference between the M1 and the M2 is going to be the difference between having a Mac and having a Windows machine. And most of those people would probably rather have a Mac, wouldn't they?
What is it outside of the processor? Sorry, what is it outside of the processor that brings this over that $9.99 price bump? What else did they do with the M2 over the M1 to really raise that price, do we think?
I think it's not the processor so much as it is the display is new. The webcam is upgraded. It's that notch display, which is, it's not as good a display as this MacBook Pros that cost $2,000, but it's brighter and it's taller. And it's got the notch, but Apple's been very clever about hiding the menu bar and the notch. And I think that for most people, the menu bar being up there, it isn't that disruptive, and you get used to it, and it's fine. But it's a better display, it's a better webcam, it's a 1080 webcam. You've got MagSafe. This new design probably is a little more expensive than the old design too, in terms of the physical enclosure of it. I'm sure it's one of those things where they looked at the cost of making this right now and weren't comfortable taking it to $999 and thought, like I just said, that the M1 Air is actually pretty great. So why don't we keep selling it? But I do think that over time they need to push it down because, like Andy said, and it's the truth of it. It's the reality of it. There's a reason Apple tried to get rid of the MacBook Air a few years ago and replace it with the MacBook and the 13-inch MacBook Pro, both of which were $1199 or $1299, and they were Retina, and the MacBook Air wasn't, and people didn't care. They just kept buying the $999 laptop, and I think Apple's learned that lesson, that for a lot of people, the $999 laptop is what they're going to buy. And that's it. Like you can try to sell me an $1199 laptop, but there's a certain portion of the consumer base that's just going to say no. So, that's why I think in the long run, the M2 Air will need to get down there. And I know there's inflation and stuff like that, but like having that $999 price point, a lot of nines, like Andy said, I think is important. And I really wonder what they'll never say, but what the sales proportion will be between the M1 and the M2 over the next year. Because I think they're still going to sell a lot of M1 Airs, and they should. It's a great computer.
I will say that Apple is starting to, it feels like there's a trajectory that looks a lot like the early 90s, where there are so many different chips and so many different computers that are being released, and they're all in different cadences that even for someone like me, I start going, I don't know what I want to buy. I think it was clear for a while, and I think it's starting to get murky. And I think that it's not murky yet, but I think that Apple has to start thinking about, the streamlining that a little bit. It probably has to do with supply chains and lots of other things of putting out what you can when you can, but with lots of different chipsets that are not as far apart, with lots of different outlays. It starts to get confusing. And it was not that didn't need to be, I don't know, 6 versions of the Mac when, they're almost identical in the early 90s. But I start feeling a little deja vu that we're starting to get a lot of different pieces of hardware at different levels of development, and it's starting to lead to, I think people I've talked to are starting to get like they're just hanging on and not buying anything right now because they're not sure what the next thing is for them, because it's just so many different options and there's so fine a detail between them that it really takes a lot of thought, and something that Apple's been good at not forcing us to do for a long time, but it seems to be getting harder.
Because you were there, Jason, I'll give you a little pride of place. Was there anything you saw that knocked your socks off? Or more than one thing is fine.
I think the big thing that was the surprise and says a lot about a lot of things. Says a lot about Apple's ambitions, says a lot about what the rumors are and where they come from, is this idea of the dynamic island. And I want to start with the name because nothing says we wish we had named the notch so people call it something that isn't the notch, like calling this the dynamic island. Like they lost control of the narrative there, and they're like, no, it's an island, people, a dynamic island.
You really have to admire their ability to take a negative and turn it into, I think, at least it looks like a positive.
Yeah.
I don't know,
it's called lemonade. Like
lemonade.
Exactly. Like they should call it the lemonade drop.
Oh no, it's beyond lemonade. And those of you who listened to Leo and I last week, could see like how excited I was about it. There's one thing about saying, oh, okay, well, we masked this enough that you don't notice that this was a design problem that we solved. It's truly like Apple could make the claim that no, we were working up to this for the past 3 or 4 years. And this is it just took us a while before we get the sensors into that one little pill that we always wanted for the iPhone 10. And I mean, I'm sure that's
in fact, they don't put it on the notch, I notice, on the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus. So I think it wouldn't work as well with the notch.
Another quick thing about the notch, though. Someone overlaid screenshots that the notch actually intrudes vertically into the screen less than the pill.
Right.
So that's an interesting choice.
They chose to make it drift down in that island there. That's what they chose to do this time.
When I saw it, all I could think of for some reason, I was picturing Larry David just going, hey, it's a notch. It's a notch. Like I don't know, it's a notch.
Yeah.
I kind of like the notch. It's like it's like this black spot where I put on my vision a pill. Who wants a pill? I'm trying to spend $1,200 for that. I gotta have pills in my life.
Yeah.
So if we talk about the rumors here, right? Like it's these two cutouts, and everybody's like, oh, it's going to be a hole punch and a little oval hole punch, and that's going to be it. And it shows you first off that so many rumors come out of the supply chain where all they know it's the three blind men and the elephant. There's Larry David. It's the three blind men and the elephant. They're like, oh, it's two things now.
Change your name.
Exactly. But what's actually happening is software, and I really think they've had the last 5 years since they did the notch to think like, well, if we can get it smaller, could we embrace it? Could we build UI around it and turn it into a feature? Yeah. And that's not something that we all got as a rumor because that was deep inside Cupertino, right?
Yeah,
instead
that wasn't
of it being just on the assembly line.
Yeah.
And I love their ambition there, right? Because it is turning a negative into a positive. It's like, well,
it does look
if we dance around the UI, if we dance around those little holes, and it's almost as if they disappear.
Right.
Whereas the notch is like, just don't look at it. Okay. Don't look at it.
It's not a pill. It's a permanent widget kind of a thing. Here's the comparison you were talking about, Andy, from Reddit via Reddit's iPhone Reddit. So the 14 and the 14 Pro, the split and superimposed. So you see the pill is actually
further down.
Yeah,
it's smaller.
Very good. I think that's right. Further down.
But it's further down.
It's narrower, but I think it's a slightly bigger, taller than the notch.
But I also think that the fact that you do get some active pixels above it, on top of the pill,
that's what makes the dynamic island possible. Otherwise, it doesn't a dynamic peninsula.
But also visually,
nobody wants a dynamic peninsula.
Here you go.
They're thinking we could have called the notch the static peninsula. People would have eaten that up. Oh, kicking themselves.
It's not a notch. It's a peninsula. Okay. I can't ask you this, Jason. So just wink. No. Besides, so have you had any experience of it other than in the hands-on?
No, I can give you the official canary, which is I was not one of those people who stayed behind and got a briefing.
Tomorrow you might get it.
Maybe. That's usually how it works, right? Is that the second wave people get it after the embargo drops,
right? So we can't really judge how the utility or the, I mean, there may be a high annoyance factor with that thing going.
I would say we won't be able to judge it even when it ships. And this is why. It's because this is part of this action widget framework that they announced in June. The idea that you can have live actions as widgets and show things like a baseball game or now playing in the music app. This is the other shoe of that dropping, which is that this is the same API does the stuff around the dynamic island. Well, the thing is, that's a coming later feature for everybody but Apple. So third-party stuff is going to be really it's going to take a few months for the third parties to support this. And I feel like out of the gate, it's going to be a little thin because it's just going to be Apple stuff. And then there's going to be like a software update and we're going to get third party apps that embrace the dynamic island. They move out to the island and then we'll see how it is. But I think it's going to take a while for the uptake from the developers to come in.
And thank you, Apple, for making an API or whatever they call it, a kit for this, because it is nice that other apps can use it, especially because apps are going to take over the whole screen. So it's very nice that an app can somehow integrate that thing, that whole, into something better.
And that's something that Apple can do that Google can't. Google, a couple of iterations ago,
Google's trying to get away from the pill, right?
Well, no,
they're making it smaller and smaller.
I'm talking about the pill. I'm talking about how a few iterations of Android ago, they came up with this really interesting idea of having apps have access to picture-in-picture, just like YouTube, so that, like, if you're in Google Maps, for instance, and you're on a bus or you're on a train or whatever, you can actually keep an active Google Maps view of where you are so that you don't miss your stop and stuff like that. And they opened that up to third parties, but Google doesn't have the ability to, either by making it so attractive as Apple makes their stuff attractive, or by strong-arming their developers the way that Apple strong arms to the developers to actually convince so many third parties to actually take advantage of it. This is a beautiful, and the thing that I miss a lot that's so obvious about phones is there are times where there is an ongoing thing that an app is doing in the background that you want to be able to keep an eye on, even if it's just that I want to actually have a persistent thing that says, here's how long this call has been running, or here's where this the source of this audio is coming from, and I want to be able to mute it and control it there, or the gold standard which they demonstrated, which is how long is it going to take for my lift to get here? Do I have time to brush my teeth, or am I going to have to hot dog it when I get to the office later that day? Apple's going to be able to actually take advantage of it. Now, maybe for all we know, when we're being really optimistic, I'm being really excited about it, but it could be just as bad a situation as I still can't remember what Apple's official name for that stupid little OLED strip above the keyboard was, but nobody really. Thank you very much. The touch bar, nobody really supported it. There was some fun. Yeah. It was fun to play Doom on the touch bar, but it didn't become the sort of thing where all of the apps that you use find a creative and productive way to use it. So maybe we're just being optimistic here, but I don't think so. I think this is something that every app is going to want to be able to say, look how modern we are. Look how much you're getting for your $5 a month or whatever we're charging for subscription. We're making this better. We're making this more modern. We're making this the equivalent of every single Apple app that's out there. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
How long before Android phones start copying it? Right. That's
when you'll know it already happened.
Success.
It already happened on a
theme.
Oh God,
not a theme, a launcher.
No,
Xiaomi. Xiaomi. This is the dynamic island on a Xiaomi phone.
Sure,
why not? I think in general,
great.
the general press reaction to Dynamic Island has been extremely positive, like Andy and mine. The real question will be once we get it in our hot little hands.
How does it work in practice? Because, right. I mean, it is, like Andy said, really a great idea to say phone screens are too small for multitasking, but what about an active background information area, and you can tap and hold, and it brings up a more dynamic kind of control. Although, again, my understanding is that those aren't really interactive if you're not Apple. Third-party apps are less interactive.
Oh, is that true?
I think so, but you can see a direction that they're headed here, which is this is almost like something like the Mac menu bar for the iPhone, right? It's a place that you can put little menu bar items, essentially, and say, here's what else is going on. And I think that is again, there's that saying about how if you put constraints on creative people, sometimes they do their best work. This feels like that. This feels like Apple looking at those holes in their display and being like, we got to do something. And in doing that, they came up with a rethinking, like a major rethinking of how iOS works on phones. And it's got a lot of potential, even though, I mean, I'm with Andy. We're going to get it, and there's going to be like, oh, it doesn't do this. And it's going to be one of those things we have to wait maybe a year for. But I think it's got huge potential.
So, everybody got their Ultras. The reviews have been out for a while. Stephen, have you had one for a while?
I do. I got one on launch day. There's the Ultra with the white Ocean Band right there.
Nice. Oh, you have the Ocean Band. I have the gray Ocean Band. And at some point, I'll bring in the... Did it take you a while to figure out how the Ocean Band worked?
I read the instructions. I copiously read, about the second loop and putting it through.
Yeah, I think I threw the instructions out or something. Because so it comes with a removable. In fact, it's not even attached when you get it. Second loop for the tab end, and I didn't pay attention, and I just put it around the back, and which means I couldn't get the tab in at all. Like it wouldn't fit. And I thought, well, then I figured it out. There's holes there. I could just thread it through a hole. And now I quite like it. And it's adjustable. So that's because this is the one size fits all band. Even your wet.
I do like it. I have been using a lot of my previous solo loops with the Ultra because they all fit and they fit great.
Yeah. In fact, I was concerned about my pad and quill. Micah, what do you young people call those?
A cuff. A leather cuff.
Thank you.
Oh.
I was concerned about that because had a hole cut out for the back of the watch, and it actually works. So everything's fine.
Oh, good.
So that's good. We're here to report that your Ultra, as huge as it might be, and I put this on Lisa's, my wife's wrist, and it really is too big for her. I said, come on, you would love this watch. So what do you think, Mr. Robles?
I really like it. I mean, the battery life, I've been testing it, went 48 hours straight off charger, and it was still at 28% battery, which is pretty amazing. And even did some deep sea diving in my pool and tested the depth app.
Oh, if only I had a pool.
It did go down to 5 feet. And so as soon as the Apple Watch Ultra is submerged, depth app comes up, went down to 5 feet, and it read the water temperature, depth, and it was pretty accurate. So
I turn, cool. When you're setting it up, it says, well, if you go in water, do you want to know how deep you are and how cold it is? And I said, well, of course I do. Because if I fall off the Titanic, it would be nice as I sink to know how far I've sunk. But maybe I'll scuba sometime. I have scubaed in the past. I like scuba diving. This is really, though, silly for a person like me to have, because it's
it's same for me. I have no practical use for it. The most action I've had is grocery shopping with Apple Watch Ultra. But that larger display showing my grocery list, that was key feature right there. It's a great experience.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's great for grocery shopping. I'm sure Apple will put that in their next ad.
Yeah.
I was shopping in the aisle at Safeway when all of a sudden I couldn't remember iceberg or romaine. Then my watch came to the rescue.
I reached in to buy a bundle of romaine, and then that's when the automatic spritzers came on, and thank God I had the rugged version of my Apple Watch, or else, well, things could have gotten pretty south pretty fast, let me tell you that.
In this shot, it does look kind of hunky, chunky.
That's why I'm looking forward to designers coming forward with more substantial bands, like the 70s to have those gauntlet sort of things that made you look real beefy and real hunky. I was the day that it was shown off, I thought that, oh my God, there's going to be such a market on Etsy for women's Apple Watch Ultra bands that make you look like either Wonder Woman or Xena. Because
cool.
if you're going for one of those ultra marathon mucker sort of things, you're going to want to have the Wonder Woman bracer or the Xena.
Oh, this would be good, for a mudder. Yeah. How deep and how cold is the mud?
Yeah, I will say I watched a DC Rainmaker actually has a YouTube channel. I just found it this morning, and he tested the depth in one of those cylindrical water cases. And he brought it down all the way to 130 feet, and that's when it stops measuring depth. That's the maximum, at least in feet, 130 feet. But it stayed accurate with the gauge.
I thought it did something really.
It's supposed to be able to go to 100 meters. But that doesn't mean they'll continue to measure.
Yeah, it does this cool thing that's very safe that says it could probably measure beyond that, but the screen just simply says, "Okay, you're below 140 now. I'm out."
That seems like a lot. You'd have to be a specialized diver, right, to go deeper than that, or no?
Yeah, I think that's when you need mix.
Yeah, but this is cool. So this is a hyperbaric chamber for watches or something. It's got a pump on it, and it can increase the water pressure, huh? Yeah. That's kind of cool.
It's good video. He said that he had it commissioned. He had it made so long ago that the tablet that he's using is using look at
the bezel on
generation outdated. but he said that he was hoping that he would be able to depth test all these waterproof and water resistant watches to failure, and then he found out that even when he bought these really really crappy watches off of AliExpress, they don't just catastrophically fail in a cool way. They just usually just kind of keep working until they stop.
Yeah. So Apple says it's water resistant, and yet they show people swimming in it and they say you can dive. Is it really? Is it waterproof? Why don't they say waterproof?
I think that's a different kind of certification for proofing.
It is, yeah, the IP.
Deep sea diving to 100 meters, that's pretty resistant, I would say.
Unless you can only do it for 10 seconds and then you have to come back. Yeah. I don't know.
My understanding, the last time I looked into it, about a year or two ago, is that the difference is usually that if it's waterproof, that means that it has active countermeasures against ingress, meaning that you have gaskets that are being held together by positive mechanical seals. Whereas water resistant means that there's glue. It's at some point this system could fail. At which point it doesn't. At which point this ages out of the water resistant system.
IP stands for ingress protection. And what is the IP rating on this? Is it IP
68?
68? Okay, so IP6X can resist high pressure heavy sprays of water. It's not about a water. So is this a way that Apple can get out of warrantying it if it fails underwater? It seems odd.
They get out of warranting it by simply expressing that it's not warranted against this.
So they're good.
Yeah, it has a bunch of military spec certifications, which are absolutely intense. If you look at the entire library of certifications that come under this category that they're qualifying under, a lot of it really is: does it resist against chemical attack? Does it resist against acid? Does it resist against, again, fighting aliens on the USS Sulaco or something like that? But however, I was excited when I saw that certification, that I learned about the certification where it's passed against certain elements of that, but not the really, really exciting ones. So if your procurement requirements, meaning your boss will, your company will authorize the procurement of this device, so long as it has this kind of certification, it will pass some kinds of these super, super intense field certifications, but not others. But it does point out that people like me are thinking, oh, well, I'm either I'm an adventurer or I'm just want a really cool, big, fancy watch. But there are a lot of people who like work in the energy industries, like who are working on oil derricks, people who are working in construction, that they really do need something that they can use all day, just as a regular regular fitness watch or just as a regular smartwatch. They just need it to be super, super durable, even though they're not, they're not skydiving off of Everest or something like that. They're operating heavy equipment. They need something that's gonna hold up to that.
Apple says, rather Wikipedia says, MIL Standard 810, which is the Apple standard they're saying we have MIL spec 810H3, is a flexible standard that allows users to tailor test methods to fit the application. As a result, a vendor's claim of compliance to U.S. MIL Standard 810 can be misleading because no commercial organization or agency certifies compliance. So, okay, fine. It's kind of meaningless. It's you could take it out into battle, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So, but the point is made. In fact, didn't somebody try to hammer it and ended up hammering, destroying the table? Some YouTuber.
Yeah.
That's a typical YouTuber. Supposedly, the Apple Watch stopped working before the screen was actually shattered. And so the shock to the internals messed it up before the screen would break. But I mean, enough hits, the screen shattered too. So
yeah, I'm not going to hit it with a hammer. I might take it swimming. I might do that.
I'm more concerned about my wrist if it gets hit with a hammer than anything else.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I have to say, I love it. I'm not curious, Stephen, what you think. Unless Andy, did you get one too? No, I think it's just me and Stephen at this point. Yeah.
Nope, just you guys.
I like the bigger screen because I can actually type the passcode in the first time every time. Are you using the Wayfarer, the new Wayfarer watch face?
I typically used a modular watch face, and that's one of the weird things with the display. Because it's larger, it's scaled up all the watch faces, and it feels a little sparse, like it's not filling like the normal modular would fill. So that's a little weird. And
that's why I'm using Wayfarer, because I have 8 complications, which I like. I love my and if I double tap the bezel, I can see what longitude and latitude I'm at, which is not all that useful, but and it has a compass on it. It also does some really interesting things. You can set waypoints. So if, like breadcrumbs, if you're Hansel and Gretel, you can drop waypoints as you're hiking, which means if you're going off trail, at least you'll be able to maybe get back. One of the waypoints can be where your car is parked. So for me, that's more useful.
Importantly of note, that is a watchOS feature, and so
can yours do it too?
Any modern Apple Watch is able to do the wayfinding thing.
Oh. Well, never mind then, iOS Today host. I just
you
can't do longitude and latitude, can you?
I cannot, but that's just easily one of the coolest features in my opinion. The wayfinding thing, I do like to hike, and so cool. I was excited to see that it was available on multiple watches.
As you say, Stephen, my battery life. So they want you to sleep with it on 5 nights in a row so that you can predict your ovulation, which I'm excited about. So I have been sleeping with it on. Only hit Lisa once last night, which was good, because this can leave quite a mark. And and battery life overnight is like 6% loss. Actually, it was like more, even like 4% loss. It was very low. I wore it overnight last night, all day yesterday with a workout. It was down to 53% after a full 24 hours. So that bodes well for 48-hour battery life. Charged it up in less than an hour while I was having breakfast. This is a watch you might not want to, but it is certainly one you can wear all the time.
And then that's what I did. I sleep with mine. I slept with my Series 7 and earlier watches anyway for sleep tracking. And with like the 2-day battery life, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Just wear it overnight. And the charger, it did charge up very quickly, quicker than I would have thought, being a larger battery. But if you have that faster charging capability like the Series 7 did, and you have a charger that supports it, it charged up very quickly. I was surprised.
I was a little disappointed for $700 or $800. It should come with a better puck. It comes with the same puck that the other lesser.
You get a braided cable though.
Oh, it's true. It is braided. Wow.
Apple Watch cable, yeah.
So the old edition watches would come with that fancy, ultra suede table stand.
I still have my original with that
love
because
that.
I got a stainless steel original Apple Watch. I still have the box.
Yeah, that's.
I will say I'll be testing this Apple Watch Ultra in the hurricane that's actually headed my way.
Oh, where are you right now?
Oh my word!
I am near Tampa, Florida.
Oh, Tampa! It's going to be the first time in 100 years Tampa's had a hurricane. A
I
serious
jokingly
hurricane.
tweeted. I tweeted last week when I got it jokingly, I get to test it in a hurricane, and now I'm regretting that tweet because I think it will be a legitimate test. Yes, and I unfortunately, I do have to say I'm about to lose power. I did not plan for this.
That's okay. If you lose power, we'll wish you well, and we'll think about you as Ian. So it's made landfall. Is it stormy out?
Well, I'm about to lose power because there's a generator being hooked up currently, and I was told it wouldn't need to have the power off, but it's going to. And so when that kicks off, I'm not sure how long I'll be out, but I'll be reporting live from the hurricane floor tomorrow, and I will let you know how Apple Watch Ultra does in that kind of environment.
Wow, this is exciting.
Steven, can I make one request just for, I mean, this would be a generous gift for us, but if the crew says, oh, by the way, we're going to be shutting off power in about 30 seconds, could you just say, oh my God, the winds are starting to pick up now. I don't know how, so that you get cut off in mid-sentence, because that would make a really great thumbnail for the video. That would be, I mean, it'd be great for the channel. I know it's not your channel, but I mean,
I'll let them know to cut it off now, and I'll try to time it right.
If you can, like, and just like give the camera a little bit of shake and like say,
wow,
yeah.
I got to head for the shelter. And
wow.
Sorry, I shouldn't be making fun. I hope everything works out okay. That was rude of me.
Thank you. We'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Good.
So if the power goes out, we'll understand it when you disappear.
Appreciate it. Sorry about that.
No, that's quite all right. Do you have family in Puerto Rico as well?
Not anymore. We all moved to New York,
got out,
and then so no one's there now.
Yeah, because it got hit very hard, and our thoughts and prayers, as they say, out to our friends in Puerto Rico.
I was going to try and fly my DJI Mini 2 drone, but I don't think it's going to withstand those hurricane force winds. I think that's going to work. It will not work.
Yeah, mine doesn't even like a light breeze, to be honest with you. So.
No, you can't take it to the beach.
No.
It's just,
yeah, I know. Here's a teardown of the Ultra, in which you could see the giant, the very giant battery in it. This is the iFixit folks who do such a great job with their teardowns. One thing I did learn though, as tempting as it might be, because there's pentalobe screws in the back, very visible. Do not take your watch apart. Apparently, it's not easy to put back together again, unless you're a trained professional. Do not. Anyway, the kind of the bottom line review, Stephen, on the Ultra, worth it?
Well, I do like the bigger screen, and I was always a titanium watch guy. I liked the 6 and 7 in titanium. I thought it showed less scratches, plus I like the sapphire display, and you don't get that option on the Series 8 anymore. So if you want titanium, well, there it goes.
Oh, bye-bye, Stephen.
Bye, Stephen.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Good luck in the hurricane. Holy camole.
That's scary. That's scary.
Terrifying.
I heard his UPS.
Yeah, beep, beep. There goes the power. Okay, show the wide shot.
The hurricane.
Because what happens now is Brooke comes in and removes you from the presence.
Yeah. Wait, he's still there.
Wait a minute, he's back. Put him back. He's in the dark.
I'll last as long as my APC runs on my Mac Studio.
I hear the beeping. Wow, it's amazing. It's a miracle.
Florida.
Oh God!
We're gonna call him Lazarus Robles from now on. That's awesome.
I have the same UPS. When I heard that beep, I'm like, yeah,
I know that beep.
What's happening in my office?
I know that beep. So if you're hearing it, folks, it's not you, it's him.
That's it. But anyway, final Apple Watch Ultra review. I really like it. Whether it's worth it if you're not an adventurer is hard to say. liking the material, liking the bigger screen for accessibility. If you like making super large text, sorry about the beeping. That might be a worthwhile feature. But I don't know. It remains to be seen. I'm going to use it for the next few weeks without my Series 7, just strictly Ultra, and we'll see how it goes.
Turn on the flashlight on the watch, and then that way you can just use it
that's a great,
to light your,
that's a great
light
idea.
your beard. The beard will
Some
stay
real
lit.
ambiance, right?
Yeah. No, it's not that bright.
There
It's a little bit. You have to keep twisting your wrist to do it.
Yeah.
It's being picky.
That's tough.
There we go. A bunch for
Look at that.
There. Display of the Apple
Lit
Watch
by his
Ultra.
Apple Watch in the midst of Hurricane Ian, direct from Tampa. It's Beard.fm. Back to 2022 now, and Apple's release of, could it be too many iPads? So let's talk about these iPads here. And by the way, all of this is exactly as rumored, right? Were there any surprise that maybe that hover thing is a surprise? We didn't know about that.
Hover was new.
Yeah,
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah.
And that seems like I can't wait to get my hands on that. The idea that if the sensors are good enough that if you just hover the pencil over the screen, it will show you the target below it. So it's like 3D touch, but in the opposite direction from the screen. And for art apps, like just know where you're about to plunk down your pointer is just a big deal.
I think that Scribble sensing it is a huge one to me. You know,
I think that the other thing that potentially could happen there is spray painting. So now you're not touching the surface. You can go over it and lay layers of spray paint, which has been something that you can do with Wacom, the high-end Wacom tablets and so on and so forth, does not actually touch the surface. So it'll be really interesting.
Point. For photo retouching as well. Yeah, good point.
Yep.
You can see what you're doing to the lights and the shadows while you're doing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for vibrant colors, and they are vibrant, frankly, except for the silver. They look like the iPhone C. Remember, they really are very colorful. Yep. Yeah,
they're very personable. I'm glad to see
gray one
put more color. they keep breaking new ground on new ways to have words to describe the word gray.
And this is a redesign, right? The squared off case is kind of more like the iPad Pros from last year. So that's
the all pixel screen too, which is good. Or it's all glass, so the button's on the top instead of being in the bottom.
More than that, the camera's on the top instead of being on the side. What a big difference. I might have to get my mom this because she's always looking in the wrong place, putting her thumb on the side.
Yep.
Putting it on the top now makes it more like a laptop, which is very smart. Ultra wide 12 megapixel front camera. 12 megapixel back camera, they say updated. A USB-C support. This is on the new iPad, so it is USB-C. It's not Lightning.
Yeah.
It supports a wide range of accessories. Wi-Fi 6. I thought it was 6E.
The Pro is 6E.
The Pro is 6E. Okay.
Yes.
Not that matters for most people, but it's the first iPad with 6E, I believe. New Magic Keyboard Folio. It doesn't have that weird lift up thing anymore. It's just a regular flat
kickstand.
It's got a kickstand, which actually I think is probably better because now you're lying the keyboard flat on the surface, right? So it's going to have less give, I would think. I don't know.
Maybe. But also look the row of function keys on the thing. That is, they did so much to make this like inexpensive, like $450 tablet into why on earth would you even consider buying a Windows tablet? Because we're making so many accommodations towards the real world of people who are like, man, I would love this, but it's kind of a close race, and I just can't deal with Lightning. Or man, I would love this, it's a close race, but I really need actual function keys for a lot of the virtualization that I do. This is such a compelling product in so many ways.
It's very exciting. Greg Joswiak said, "We're so excited to bring the completely redesigned iPad to our most advanced iPad lineup ever." Why even bother, Greg?
I'm just waiting for this one isn't as good as the last one, but we've had some supply issues and
It's funny. They always get the crap taken out of them for saying that the next one is the best one ever, because of course it is. But I'm trying to find out, why do they do it? Like, what makes it a thing, especially when you know everyone's teasing you, because there are always new people being brought to the ecosystem. Because it's funny
until they stop.
Well, here's the thing that's hilarious. It's starting to come up in like the regular comedy stuff, right? So SNL did something and they had a joke recently and they're talking about the iPhone. Oh yeah, this one, the best one ever. So like now it's getting down to where regular people, not just the nerds, are doing it. But I think the only thing that I can process in my head is they realize there's new people coming to the ecosystem all the time. So for them, this language is new and it makes them feel like they're getting in on something dope. But it's funny to us.
Is the display slightly bigger, right? It's now 10.9 inch instead of 10.2. So they have reduced the bezels. It's probably as much as they're ever going to, because you still need to hold it somewhere. Liquid Retina display, A14 Bionic, first ever landscape front camera, USB-C. I think the USB-C is telling. I mean, there's no lightning in any of this.
This is I think what the difference between Apple Silicon and Intel is to the Macs. The difference between USB-C and Lightning is to the iPads, or really every other product. If you don't have a USB-C port, maybe you should hold off another year.
By the way, iPadOS 16, which they said will be coming out for all of us with iPads. Well, all of us with iPad Pros and some of us with regular iPads on Monday. Your order, which can be made today for both the new Apple TV and the new iPads, is delivered Wednesday. Not tomorrow, October 26th. Not tomorrow. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. Are you going to order this, Doc Rock?
No, I have my M1 iPad Pro, which I absolutely love.
I don't feel any. I'm the same way. I don't feel any need.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not going to switch to M2 yet, because like a ding dong, again, this is normal for me. When I got the M1 iPad Pro, I filled it, so it was 2,500 bones. But one thing I just realized, I forgot that iPad 16 wasn't out already, because I've been on the beta for so long that I literally forgot it didn't exist, because we have it on the phone, right? So yeah, that's kind of funny to see that announcement. I'm like, what do you mean coming out? It's been
iPadOS. We don't have that yet.
You have totally forgot.
Beta.
So it is so good that I literally forgot that I've been using beta, that's a good thing for the people who will be upgrading. Come this week or next week, is that it is really, really stable. And I don't use that stage thing on it though, because that just freaks me out.
I will be interested. Freeform is coming out with iPadOS. We thought maybe it was going to be delayed, so I will be very interested to see what you think of that. I feel like there's some stealth thing they're doing there with Freeform, or maybe it's just another one of those apps that somebody wrote and they threw it in, and then they'll ignore it for the rest of its life.
It was a nice reassuring piece of news. I have to correct myself. I said that the release of date of Ventura is indeterminate, but I forgot.
No, it's Monday as well.
That was exactly. Yeah. So knowing that they're not they're also, I think the announcement also said that yes, Stage Manager will be part of Ventura. It's not like they're going to say, oh, that's going to be there's a technology preview in place and for early betas, but then you will get we will deliver the actual product in about a month after that. The fact that they're shipping Stage Manager next Monday is good. I mean, at least they feel as though it's stable enough that it's not going to break people's heads. If it might break people's heads, the new user interface, but again, that's like we talked about last week. If they don't want to use it, people don't have to use it. But you have to put it out there and get people start to hammer on it before they can figure out how to make it even better. Pricing is a little higher. They're still going to offer the 9th generation base model for $329. This one kind of more. It's not. They didn't label it an Air, but it's kind of more Air priced, $449. If you want cellular, $599. That's a bigger bump. It used to be a $129 bump, right? And now it's a $150 bump to get cellular in there. Maybe that's the 5G tax. It'll come in 64 gig and 256 gig configurations. Nothing in between. You either get it all or nothing. By the way, Apple Pencil 1st generation only, right? So is that a disappointment? Do we want to use the 2nd generation on this thing? I guess that's for the pros.
How do you, if it's USB-C, how do you
Oh.
Charge.
I guess you got to have a cable.
Oh, it has that adapter came with it.
Oh,
They had that tiny little adapter.
Yeah, you have to get some adapter now to like plug it in.
A dongle of shame,
Yeah.
as Dave Schaub calls it in our chat room. A dongle of shame. Wow.
And most of us lost that little nubbin that came with it, like eons ago. But also, and even the Apple TV a while back came with a little nubbin. That was so somewhere around here I have it, but I use a second gen pencil. So here's the thing that's amazing to me, and Alex mentioned this earlier. Now in iPad game, we got a lot of SKUs. Like that's un-Apple. Like there are a metric.
There's
Apple
basically three levels, but then there's sizes.
Well, because now we have Pro in 2 sizes. We have iPad. We have iPad 4th gen, iPad 10th gen,
and I will say
9th gen.
Do we have the Air anymore? Is the Air gone?
Yes. No, it's still there. That's what I'm saying. We have a lot of SKUs right now.
Wonder why. That's interesting. So they didn't kill the Air.
I feel like Apple's been doing a lot of SKUs for a lot of things, and I will say I agree that with the Doc that
they're getting away from the
it's getting
Steve Jobs thing.
Yeah, and I to some degree I see it in the sense that we use it for different things. I have a bunch of minis that I use for one thing, and mine personal ones are the Pros, and we've used a bunch of things. So it's I kind of get it, but it's still
the mini was not updated, was it?
Last year sometime.
But there was a rumor that they were going to update the mini. I guess not.
Oh, not this time. And Andy's right. Like the mini is definitely one of the iPads that is, to use an Andy word, ecumenical. It is religious. Everybody that has a mini, don't give me nothing else.
I love my mini.
I want my mini.
I love my mini. Yeah. And I don't need an upgrade on my mini. To be honest,
mini is like the Converse Chuck Taylors back in the day. Chuck Taylors for certain people were religion. Like I don't need all of these fancy shoes with these pumpings and straps. I just needed Chucks.
Yeah.
And so to me, the mini is much like Chucks, and it comes in all those colors.
And I use my pencil too, and I charge it on the side of my iPad mini.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's a lot of SKUs. There's the iPad mini from $499. The iPad from $329, the new iPad from $449, the iPad Air from $599, and the iPad Pro from $799. Too many SKUs. Too many.
I do think the iPad.
What's the difference between an iPad and iPad Air? That's going to confuse people in the stores.
I think the iPad Air needs to go. I see so many situations which I would say no, just get the regular iPad and max it out. Don't spend the extra money on that. Or I would say, oh, you know what? For you, spend the extra money and get the iPad Pro, even if you have to get like one that doesn't have that much storage on it, because you are absolutely going to adore that thing. It's hard to know where the iPad Air exists.
Yeah, why pay $150 more for an iPad Air? I don't understand.
Yeah,
we said that when the regular came out. When the 9th gen came out, we said that the new one passed the Air, and that was almost a year ago.
Well, of course, the Air has the M1 chip, but dirty little secret. So is the A14 is the M1 chip. So I don't know why. That's an interesting game Apple's playing with that. I guess maybe the M1 has more cores or something, or it's an interesting game. I would say, you don't need the Air. It's got more muted colors. It's not as candy colored. Everybody's trying to figure out how to survive, and Apple's decided that putting more gambling ads in the App Store is really the way to make.
That went really bad, really fast. like it was like, wow, that when you don't see Apple wipe out very often, but a lot of us have been, like that was just a complete wipeout, and it's because I watched everyone getting really upset. I didn't see very many of them, and I was just like, but I was like, wow, people are really upset about this, and I think overall, Apple should just be out of ads. Like I know that it's a growing market for them; they should not.
Yes.
Do
Apple was I think I don't know why Apple changed their tune. By the way, they've now said we're going to put a pause on gambling ads, but I think
put a pause on ads.
Yeah, well, they should, but they're not. Marco Arment's tweet. I'm guessing Marco has some pull over there. Now my app's product page shows gambling ads, which I'm really not okay with. Apple shouldn't be okay with it either. The App Store has corrupted such a great company so deeply. They make so much from gambling and the manipulative in-app purchases They don't even see the problem anymore. So here's his screenshot of being featured as the app of the day, Overcast. You might also like William Hill's sports betting. Bet on football. Of course, everybody who listens to Overcast wants to bet on football and horse racing. Apple realizing this was a black mark on their escutcheon.
Yeah, but you would think that they would say this was not it wasn't that they had this file of 1,000 categories that they just dumped into the ad system. It's like this was a considered act, and maybe at some point someone might have thought perhaps we should make sure that people who are looking for mental health apps and apps that help you to quit addiction to gambling do not see ads for gambling apps. No, apparently not. That's a
good point too. Yeah.
It's rare that, but I mean, Alex is spot on. It's rare that you see a cell phone like this from Apple. A story that begins with, in retrospect, this was an obvious mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, when they say you may also,
what is they're a product company, right? They're a product company. And so the idea here is that they want people to be loyal customers. And yet these ads are not only cynical because you have to go to the App Store, there's no alternative. And they've already had, they're taking money, they're extracting more money out of app developers by having them say, they take their 30 or 15 in some cases %. And then they say, but if anyone wants to find your app, you got to take some of that 70 or 85% we gave you and you got to give it back to us so that we can make your thing visible, right? Like it's already kind of a racket. And it wouldn't be so bad if there were alternatives, but because it's exclusive, it's the only place you can go. And with app tracking transparency, a lot of other app marketing has disappeared now. And so it's really the only place you can go. So it's already kind of gross. This is just like a layer. The fact that it's so lazy, that it's not really categorized, and it's just like selling to everywhere. You're butting into some place that you're not even relevant there, but we're going to put you there anyway, just to get your nose in the door here. And there's nobody, and I admit to having strong feelings about this because I spent the last 5 years of my old corporate job as arguing with salespeople who kept wanting to incrementally increase revenue by making the product worse. And depending on who my boss was at the time, I was sometimes the only voice in the room saying, you're going to drive away our customers and our audience, and our customers are our audience. Our customers are not our advertisers. They are our audience, and without them, we're nothing. And I wonder sometimes, looking at Apple and the App Store in the modern day, if there's anybody there with a voice who can be heard to say no to incremental revenue because it hurts the product. And this action is a sign that there isn't.
Yeah, I've always thought the worst thing about the App Store and approaching being disgusted by this is that as a consumer, I don't get to simply say, well, show me every text editor that you have. Well, no, we'll show you the top X of them. We'll show you ones that are being promoted. We'll show you ones that are being advertised. We don't care if you're willing to sit there and just scroll for 2 hours. It's if it's not something that Apple has in some way selected to be presented in front of you, you're just not going to find it unless you hit upon the magic keyword that will surface this thing that you didn't know you were looking for, but you're glad that you found. You're kind of out of it. It's a terrible way to treat app developers. It's a terrible way to treat customers.
And it's so corrosive because it gives Apple Apple doesn't have any reason to make App Store search or other App Store algorithms better, right? Because Apple could theoretically make it so good that it's like, oh, we know about you because, of course, they can track you because it's all first party and therefore it's not gross or creepy. And we know about you and we built an algorithm so we know what apps you're going to like. But if they do that, they kind of undercut their search business. So they just don't. And the search and the algorithms in the App Store aren't very good. So it's corrosive on that way. And then John Gruber made a good point on Daring Fireball this week where he pointed out how the perception among members of the public is that all of those App Store editorial stories where there's actually an editorial team at Apple who writes stories about apps that they think are cool and has nothing to do with paid placement. It's entirely editorial. I mean, it's marketing, right? Because it's the App Store and it's Apple, but it's entirely the decision of the people in App Store editorial about what they want to feature. And everybody thinks those are ads. And that is another one of these side effects. But once you open the door to content in the App Store being for pay, even when you create not for pay content, people just assume that somebody paid somebody to write this nice feature about them, even though that's not true. So there's so many knock-on effects of Apple getting into the ad business, especially in the App Store. I think they're all bad. And I think the question is it worth it? Is the extra incremental worth it? I just don't see how it is, but there's nobody to tell them no.
It's just such a small amount of revenue, and maybe they'll grow it into something. But the more it grows, the worse it will feel. So the more successful they are, the more weird it's going to be. And, especially when they're blocking other tracking and everything else, I completely agree that is just like it's so easy right now because they are a product company. They are not dependent on advertising for them to be above it. To just say, hey, our environments are not that. Our environments don't do that. And it's a nice, clean, quiet place. When we recommend something to you, it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with this is the most likely thing that you'd like. I just feel like that's the Apple. That should be the Apple approach to this, not money grubbing, which is what it feels like.
The Apple approach to it is just to keep it covert. As Out-of-Sync says in our IRC, loot boxes are basically gambling.
Yep.
And that's how most apps make money, and Apple makes 30% on those loot boxes. It's just more covert, right? It's not as obvious as an actual ad for a gambling app. The NFL advertises and now shares in gambling revenue from FanDuel and DraftKings, and I think that's really tarnished their reputation. But get ready, the radio station I worked at in San Francisco just closed down its news talk in favor of a sports gambling format. This is the way the world is going. It's kind of the crapification of everything.
I think the reason the app developers got so mad about this is that because the App Store is their only home that they're allowed on the platform. And so that means that basically, like if you're Marco Arment, your entire Overcast business is really built around the Overcast product page.
Right.
And it's not as if Apple comes to Marco and says, hey, Marco, can we put some ads on your page and we'll cut you in for a rev share? No, Apple says we're going to just put anything we want, including stuff that you hate, on your page, and there's nothing you can do about it, and we get all the money. And you have no recourse because you're trapped in our platform and there's no alternative to the App Store. And that, it's like, again, each one of those is in itself like a little micro offense, but you put it all together and it's super offensive.
Back in August, Mark Gurman said this is because Apple advertising VP Todd Teresi began reporting directly to Eddie Q, and that Teresi told Q, I'm going to increase our advertising revenue from $4 billion annually to billions in the double digits. I'm going to more than double it. And apparently Teresi has had free reign ever since. And this was in the Gurman newsletter that said, and it hasn't, I don't know if it's happened yet, they were looking at ads in the Maps app as well. Of course, Google already does that.
So who's able to say no to that guy? And right now I feel like nobody's saying no to that guy. Although this week or last week, maybe somebody realized you cannot give that guy free reign, because I hate to make a villain of any person because I don't know what's going on the inside, but I'm just going to come out and say it. I think this guy's a villain. I think this guy his job is to do things that I think are fundamentally corrosive to Apple's products. And the question is not this guy. I mean, I can say he's a villain. He's doing his job. The problem is, who's his boss? Is it Eddie Q? Who is Eddie Q okay with the junkifying of all of Apple's services? Is Tim Cook? Who is there to weigh what this guy wants to do in terms of bringing in incremental, small amounts in most cases of revenue, and weigh it against how much worse the product is?
Yeah, but if it gets to $10 billion a year, it's not that incremental.
It's not. Well, I mean, all right, let's see it though. But it's incremental compared to the iPhone, right? Like this is the
Apple doesn't need to do it. Is your point? Whether it's incremental or not, they don't need to do it. Yeah.
But also what I find a little bit suspicious is that obviously Apple didn't talk about the ad revenue business, ad part of their business during the majority of the call. Tim was asked specifically about it during the Q&A by an analyst, and he parried the hell out of it. He said, well, privacy is a fundamental right. We're not doing anything that steps away from the blah, blah. And our specific advertising business is not large in relative to others and so forth. That's not me. That is actually not large.
We're not Facebook. We're not Google.
But we don't release the exact numbers on it, but it's clearly not large. Well, if it's a multi-billion-dollar part of your business, maybe you should. And someone asks you specifically, like asking, are there any metrics, any vectors you can talk about to give us a sense of how big those businesses are? Yeah, it's suspicious that he parried the hell out of that one. The only other one that he parried off, interestingly enough, were questions about Apple's labor relations. So make of that.
Also not the best record in the world. Yeah. Interesting. Well, you know, Apple's a look at this. I've said this for a long time. Apple's a corporation. They're not your buddies.
Of course. Well,
they're not your friends. They have a fiduciary responsibility to the stakeholders to profit, to make profit. And I think to some degree, we've really set it up in this country that there is actually a bit of discord between companies whose incentives are to make money and customers who say, well, what about us? And a lot of times what companies do to make money does not serve the customer. But I think that's not their incentive.
I think the argument is that they could they may, whatever they make with the advertising, it may cost them more money in the long run. So even from a stockholder position,
I would hope they would think that, but they don't think long term.
Losing some of the shininess of the platform.
Yes,
you know,
I agree.
Just by having a shinier platform and a quieter platform will probably make them more than the advertising will. It's just an unforced error.
They need somebody like Jason Snell did at his magazine to step forward and say, no.
Well, that's look, it's so hard to turn down extra money, and I get it. And especially, I will say, when you're at a tech magazine company in the 2010s, you're in a way more dire financial straits than Apple is.
That's right.
But even there, it's so hard to turn down more money, right? Because the answer is, what they'll say to you is, the ad salespeople, like this guy, will say, but it's just more money. There's no downside. There's more money. And the answer is, there is no such thing as a free lunch. There is always a downside.
Yeah.
But the downside is the bigger picture. And you need someone who sees the bigger picture. And that's why, again, I can't really demonize this guy who I already called a villain, because he's doing his job. The problem is, who gave him his job? Who gave him his incentives to do his job? And who is looking at what he does and evaluating whether it makes sense for Apple's business as a whole? And I get the feeling that up to now, they've basically let him do whatever he wants. And somebody needs to say, Todd, that's off limits.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody has yet.
That's leadership, where you're taking the holistic view of the company, not just this bottom line revenue. We deal with the same thing. You know, every time I've worked in radio, you take every advertiser who walks in the door. It doesn't matter how horrible they are. And when I started TWiT, I said, no, look, I really would like to make sure that I would like to say no to advertisers. I want to make sure that we only have ads that I can legitimately endorse. And that's a hard, especially when companies are troubled, that's a hard line to hold.
It is brutal to be the person who says, let's not take this check that this guy is handing us.
Yeah.
But
I'm
that's
very
why
fortunate.
you have to be adult enough to have the big picture thing, which is like, what does this do to my business if I take this check? Does it make my product worse and my customers, who are my listeners or readers or viewers or whatever, or iPhone users, less happy?
Right.
And does that have a knock-on effect that I need to worry about big picture? Because the salesperson is their incentive is to sell, because they get probably a commission, right? There's probably even a percentage attached to it. Their job is not to think. It's like they're like a shark.
Well, not only that, somebody's cracking a whip saying sell more, sell more, sell more. So
it's not their job.
They're not incentivized
to say wait.
No, and it's the job of management to say, okay, not that one. And thank God I have Lisa, who understands and I have approval on every advertiser. She understands. You know, sometimes we're going to say no to advertisers. Sometimes we go, whew, there was a company about 8, 9, 10 months ago that wanted to they wanted to sell Bitcoin in your 401k. And I said, I don't think we want to do that one. Thank God.
Alex is getting tea, so, you know, we're all...
The email. Jason got the email, but didn't open the email. And Andy was there. Andy was trying.
We can switch if you want to try it.
Andy gets the gold medal for today.
Andy does get the gold star.
Thank you very much.
Alex is back here now.
I try to be a healthy person who doesn't check his email all the time.
Alex, we're trying Zoom ISO, so if you've got the email you got from John.
Okay, so let me.
You want us to go over there?
I didn't see that.
I'm happy to go over there if we want to.
Me too.
What we're going to do is have you log off this link.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you'll all be logging into the same link this time. Yes?
Oh,
imagine.
So we should see each other all there. So I'll log out of this one.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, we're going to do it. Let's do it.
That was a great placement for that sticker. You should leave it.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live.
That was pretty funny.
I'm going to let John work the magic. He knows what he's doing. I don't. I'm just here. I'm gonna hang out with Leo. We're gonna.
So we're gonna move over to Zoom ISO.
Yes, and I have to do some stuff on my end too. I realize. So
the video goes from an M1 Mac Mini to Zoom ISO, which is that software or hardware? So it's software. Into a Razer Core X external GPU enclosure, which contains a Blackmagic DeckLink Duo 2, which then converts it into a form that our video hub can use. Now, audio is more complicated because we use AES and a live wire with the Axios system. So we go Mac Mini, Zoom ISO, into emerging technology virtual audio device for Mac that does the AES, and that sends that into our Axia AES-X node, and from there into live wire. So the audio change...
So many technical terms.
Totally makes sense.
So I'm
very totally understood that.
Audio wise, they're coming through. I'm gonna wait for John to do something so I get their video up.
Okay.
He had to walk back and forth between buildings. He's over in building 2 is where all the stuff is.
Ooh, building 2. I didn't know there was a building 2.
Carrying packets. Carrying packets on a flash drive. That's
is that out past the bathroom?
Yeah, building 2.
I'm gonna check something with
I like that though. Building 2.
Muck around. I'm here observing as a third party.
Oh, I have hidden non-video participants. That's nice.
Yeah, just to ignore them.
Who cares about those guys?
Forget
Recording
that.
in progress.
Oh my God, you have to say that?
Recording in progress. You can actually
legally do that.
You can turn the voice off in your Zoom settings in your account.
Alex knows all about this. He's the one who said,
pull up.
Stall.
So now we can all see each other. It's
now when somebody else is talking and I'm picking my nose, you're going to see it.
Oh, you get a different
enjoy that.
view.
Looking around. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's interesting. So now our guests, our panelists will see a 4-box. What will they see?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see a 4-box.
We're seeing 4-box.
Okay.
So basically, a note to self, Andy. The next time, like you want to go at someone's, realize that people can actually see you. So don't do that.
Andy's frozen for me.
He's frozen for me too.
Frozen on my end. I'm seeing Alex and Jason. So
okay, hang on. You're frozen at my end too. I'm gonna.
So there.
Just hang up and do it again. It probably is.
All right,
Yeah.
Andy's frozen.
Okay, hang on. Leaving and coming back.
But you should also notice. Are you doing and you're doing SDI out?
No.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll hopefully notice that the color and the frame rate is better.
I hope.
Than doing a screen scrape. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sweet.
2 or 3.
We're living the dream here.
And now, and the main reason I wanted to do this is to eliminate that audio latency issue.
Yeah.
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 And now you can all talk at the same time and everything, right? Like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not that we would.
No, of course not.
Oh, heaven forfend.
No. Oh, come on, man.
There we go. I hear you.
Now.
Andy's there. His
Okay.
moving, but
You're very close.
He's moving.
Yeah.
Near.
Oh, okay, good. So you can see me, but I can't see me for some reason.
I don't know if we can see you. All I see is
yeah. Right now, it's coming in. Not correct. John is doing something real quick though.
Does it take a while to sync up or something? Or
You can't see me.
You can't see me.
Oh, this is interesting. So we're not seeing the Leo one shot. We're seeing Leo's feed is the live show feed. I see.
Yes, that's right.
So we'll know when we're on.
You need to know, you need to have a live show feed.
Yeah, that's
so make a note of that in your mind that's what the audience is seeing, so that you know you can pick your nose because only Andy and Alex will see it.
Yeah,
now.
That's right. They don't care.
They don't.
They're with me.
Been there.
Yeah,
they
that's
know
what we
it's
do.
like to have bugs in your nose.
Do you
gotta get them out.
Yeah, in office hours, we have another participant that's programmed. That's in. We use.
I guess that's what we're doing. We have a program participant.
Zoom ISO. Yeah.
So can you still can't see me?
No, we see you.
Can you?
And you're just going to send it back to us as the show.
Yeah.
That's
we
fine.
don't have a set as participant. The participant is the show. In other words, I don't get a set.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
I was seeing a blank square that says Zoom ISO, and I assumed that it was like my lack of video, but okay, that's fine.
It feels snappier already.
What do you?
Okay, so now we're not hearing Andy or Alex right now.
Jenny sure had fun.
And Alex, if we're to talk right now. Yep. Should be good now.
Love my good and plenty, Charlie says. Really rings the bell, ding, Charlie says. Love my good and plenty, don't know any other candy that I love so well. Hey, we're having a Zoom rave.
What is that coming from?
Zoom boxing.
Well, I'm not talking into the mic.
It's a little, it's like a Leo audio loop that's happening
right now.
It's all in my mind. I'm still at home.
Twitter.
With Mastodon running all over my body.
Social media rots your brain.
Dynasty.
Out here in the perimeter, there are no stars.
This is going
Out here, we are stones.
Ty's gonna
Immaculate.
Ty's gonna like this.
This is the end. Beautiful friend. The end.
Texas. I'll tell you about Texas radio. I know that's all the doors I know. Oh, we got color bars. We got movie sign.
And now you got color bars. Wow.
Now I can see ourselves. Now there's a web page.
I don't see what you're seeing.
I got rhythm. I got music. I got my gal who could ask for anything more.
We're going through the ages with the MacBreak Weekly crew.
Pastures.
Yes, it's back to
my gal who
1942.
Yeah, and I have to admit that
Old man trouble, I don't mind him.
Little Busby
You won't
Berkeley.
find him hanging around my
Now
door.
everybody has to do the Busby Berkeley kaleidoscope move.
Build. The man said, build.
Here we go.
Is
Your
everything
name was
sounding
Bill.
okay, you guys? Are you,
Bill,
are you hearing
Bill.
echoes?
Do you all sound okay? Echoes on any end there?
Can you hear us at all?
Can you hear us?
Shock the monkey.
I guess they can't hear me. So that's a problem.
Shock the
Cover
monkey.
me when I run. Cover me to the fire. Knock me out the tree. Now I'm on my knees. Cover me.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear me?
Darling.
Can anybody hear me?
Can you hear us now?
Monkey. Don't you know you're gonna shock the monkey? We got there.
Oh.
It don't have to be beautiful to turn me on. I just need your body, baby, from dusk till dawn.
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear us?
Don't
Can you
need
hear us?
experience.
If you can hear me, I want you all to sing
You gotta
Purple
leave it
Rain.
all up to me. I'll show you what it's all about. You don't have to be rich to
They say
be
they hear
my
a
girl.
click track.
You don't have to be cruel.
That's why they're singing.
To
They hear a
rule
click
my
track.
world. Ain't no particular sign I'm more compatible with. I just want your extra time and your kiss.
They can definitely hear each other.
I think I'm gonna dance now.
How many songs
Where
can we
am
sing
I,
to one?
girl? Rule my world. I says they rule my world. At your age, mama, not your shoe size. Maybe we can do the twirl. You don't have to watch Dynasty.
Older reference.
You guys. Oh man, this is the greatest talent
you hear us?
assembly.
I think we've created our Christmas special.
You cannot hear me.
They can't hear us.
See, not everyone who's joined Club Twit, they are getting their $7
We're gonna go
worth
back
with
'cause we can't do it.
with this. I
They're
think.
loving this.
Okay.
At least somebody is.
So hang up and go back. How do I tell them to go back to the
Remember
show?
when we were just going to do the show the regular way?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We're going,
Go back.
so we're going back.
Go back.
So Leo, we're going to do charades. We're going back.
Go back.
Going back to the
Go back.
old way. All right.
Go back.
Here we go.
Talk about your troubles, it's a dying sin.
Go back.
Ride a painted pony.
Go back. Hey, David Clayton Thomas, go back. And that's MacBreak Weekly now. Get back to work because break time is over. We finally did get Zoom ISO working, but that was an interesting journey. We have not burst into song again ever since, but maybe in 2023. Thank you so much for joining us all year long and for this special best of MacBreak Weekly. Thanks to our wonderful panelists, of course, Rene Ritchie, who left us this year, but he was on TWiT a couple of weeks ago. He's doing great as the YouTube TV creator liaison. He's doing a great job there. Of course, we welcomed Jason Snell this year, and it was great to have him on the panel. Alex Lindsay, the wonderful Andy Ihnatko, and then quite a few other visitors from all over, like Doc Rock. It's been really a great time, I think, doing MacBreak Weekly, and I look forward to another great year in 2023. I thank you all for joining us. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you with a brand new MacBreak Weekly January 6th. Bye-bye. Oh, I forgot to say, get back to celebrating because break time is over.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, a bunch of game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. But you already knew all that. What you may not know is that TWiT now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club TWiT Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club TWiT exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club TWiT member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.